Chapter 1697. The disciples of the other sects had more or less heard of it, and their hurried footsteps immediately came to a halt. It's him. He is the white-robed Xiaochun. The words that were originally intended to threaten Xiaochun turned into all sorts of cries of pain. In the blink of an eye, only two true inheritors remained standing. One of the two true inheritors, a blue-clad youth, shouted coldly when he saw Xiaochun fiddling with his short sword. Even if Xiaochun could face Shangguanlei, there were more than 100 people rushing over. What was left behind was a group of cultivators from the various sects, who could only swallow their saliva and look at each other in dismay. That Dao tool was definitely even more incredible. The news of the white-robed Xiaochun defeating the little Thunder Saber with one saber strike on thunder-controlling peak, and facing off against Shangguanlei had set the Black Cave Mountain abuzz. Xiaochun did not draw his short sword, but he felt a cold sharpness and a weak aura of the great Dao. However, Xiaochun smiled faintly. I won't hide it from you. Let's not talk about that. Who left these injuries on you? Lingyu had not wasted all his hard work and time. Xiaochun, this is not your problem. Just stay out of other people's business. Lingyu found this somewhat inconceivable. Just earlier, he was still thinking about how to deal with this problem. Several Black Cave Mountain core disciples in the passageway recognized Xiaochun, and their expressions changed slightly. The veritable essence energy that surged out of Xiaochun's primal core was weaker than he expected. However, he was still satisfied. Boom. Just this point deterred anyone from acting rashly. Xiaochun still did not say a word. He sent out another palm strike. This palm strike was even more tyrannical and tyrannical. Like before, he used his full power. However, the might that erupted out was even more ferocious. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. Although Xiaochun was not famous now, Shangguanlei's reputation was very resounding. Shangguanlei could face off against Xiaochun and leave calmly. These people were at least late-stage minor primal core cultivators, and they were all core disciples of the various sections. Otherwise, they would not have dared to fight for peak treasure weapons. Dusting off his hands, Xiaochun walked straight to the second floor as if he had done something very casual. You can fight back how I did to you. I won't help you. As long as Xiaochun refused to hand over the ink cloud sword, they could work together. Xiaochun couldn't help but be curious. What kind of precious weapon could make such a person so angry? Even if it was a Dao soldier, it was probably only SOSO. But after 3 palm strikes, the situation had completely reversed, leaving them dumbfounded. Bang bang bang. A large group of people appeared on the stairs of the second floor. All of them were brimming with killing intent, and their cultivations were not ordinary. All of them were core disciples of various sections. 1 or 2 of them were actually true disciples. It seemed like every time he used his full power, he could dig out more of the potential of his 9-star primal core. It was indeed a good sword. The 10,000 weapon pavilion truly lived up to its reputation as one of the 3 most popular forces in the fiendish demon battlefield. Xiaochun received the short sword. The words Ink Cloud were carved on the scabbard. Just by holding the scabbard, he could feel the surging energy contained in the sword. This was the difficulty of fighting for a Dao tool and a precious weapon. It was not like subduing a weapon would make it yours. The blue-clad youth turned his head slightly and looked at the other heavenly profound sect true inheritor from the Black Cave Mountain. He said, Brother Zhangyu, don't you agree? Of course, Xiaochun would not do that. He had already comprehended the Saber Dao's great Dao energy. With this thought, the blue-clad youth no longer showed any fear. A ferocious look appeared on his face once more, and he was about to speak up in agreement with the two. How strong! When Xiaochun pushed out with his palm strike, 6 stars lit up in the veritable essence energy in his 9-star primal core. However, the speed of the explosion was even faster. The 100-odd core disciples and the 2 true inheritors on the ground crashed into the wall like sandbags. He is already as strong as Shangguanlei. How did he do it? The main thing is those 2 true inheritors. I can deal with one. However, with 2 attacking together and the attacks of the others, I can't block them at all. Xiaochun, why are you still not handing over the ink cloud sword? Are you really thinking of blocking so many of us for your friend? Zhangyu retorted coldly, making his intentions clear. Zhang Yu was originally Xiao Chen's greatest competitor. However, at this moment, Zhang Yu wanted to work with him. When the disciples on the first floor saw this, their lips twitched. Are those really the core disciples of the various sects? Bang! The veritable essence energy in the palm wind knocked the two true inheritors, who had just turned around, into the wall. 5 golden stars flickered on the crystal primal core. If one used it for 3 to 5 years, one would be able to condense a Dao. The comprehension of a cultivator would be even better than obtaining a Dao tool. Is this still the martial uncle that I know? After flipping over the two true inheritors, Xiaochen tossed them to Ling Yu's feet, one in each hand. At the same time, he returned the short sword to Ling Yu. After all, true inheritors were already very strong. In their opinion, if one of them fought against the peak minor primal core Xiaochen, the odds of victory would be 40 to 60. If the two worked together, they would be able to win. A strong wind kicked up by veritable essence energy howled in the surroundings. The long hair of the two true inheritors fluttered wildly, and they found it hard to keep their eyes open. Bang! 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 If the two still dared to stand here, they would be seeking death. Then they landed on the ground. This strike was very ruthless. They felt like most of their bones had shattered. Infused with the great Tao's might, Xiaochen drove his veritable essence energy. Resplendent purple energy flowed through the meridians in his body. It was like a surging river gushing endlessly, giving off thunderous roars. All the energy in his body burst forth as he pushed his palm forward. The two true inheritors felt bitter in their hearts. They did not dare to say anything more as they turned and fled. They already knew how horrifying Shangguan Lei was. Right now, Xiaochen's strength rivaled Shangguan Lei's. The crystal stone primal core lit up 6 stars. Their expressions immediately turned grave. This was a treasure weapon that was about to give birth to a great Dao. No wonder everyone coveted it. Before the two true inheritors could say anything, they vomited blood and went flying. Without the strength of a true inheritor, they were caught off guard and went flying. After they fell to the ground, they howled in pain. Aside from the heavenly shaking mountains' various Confucian sects, the Patala mountains' various temples, and even the Black Cave Mountains sects, there were also these people. No matter how one looked at it, Xiaochen had no chance of victory at all. One had to be able to face the encirclement of more than 100 people, and still be able to flee calmly. This was how people were. If they could not obtain something, they could not obtain it. With the two true inheritors holding the line, the other core disciples of the various sects immediately felt much more confident. Xiaochen nodded to indicate his understanding. Then he walked over and picked up the many core disciples piled together like they were cabbages before tossing them out. Ling Yu wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and took out a short sword. Xiaochen frowned slightly. It looked like he still needed some time to familiarize himself with the full might of a 9-star primal core. Suddenly, Xiaochen's aura soared. His originally suppressed tyrannical aura was already frightening. Without Xiaochen suppressing it, it was released to its heart's content. What treasure weapon did you find? It's this. 3 palm strikes. With just 3 palm strikes, Xiaochen severely injured a group of core disciples and 2 true inheritors, rendering them incapable of fighting anymore. Martial uncle, since when did you become so strong? Ling Yu gaped, speechless for a long time, completely stunned. Bang! With a thought, Xiaochen sent out another palm strike. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated wildly, and his clothes flapped loudly. His long hair and stern face looked exceptionally scary. Before this strong palm wind, the many core disciples found it hard to move, not to mention working together. Even their freedom of movement was restricted. No wonder Ling Yu was in such a sorry state despite his great increase in strength. Before Xiaochen's cultivation advanced, he might not have been able to take it. Just the thought of witnessing the birth of a complete great Dao energy at one's own hands was exciting. As long as 1 or 2 people stood out and called on everyone present to attack together, why would they fear an insignificant Xiaochen? However, the silent Xiaochen did not say a word. He raised his head and looked at them coldly. Then, a strong aura erupted from his body. Ling Yu recalled that when his martial uncle was a half-step primal core cultivator, he could barely exchange 100 moves with him. Before entering the mountain, Xiao Chen was clearly not this horrifying. Xiao Chen's strong quintessence knocked back the two true inheritors who bore the brunt of the attack. The core disciples of the various sects behind them, who were about to chime in, were all stunned. Chapter 1698. They could run about freely. However, the cultivators who came here faced many restrictions. When that person walked out, he did not show a smile on his face as he looked coldly at Xiao Chen. One had only a small wound on its body, a fatal strike that struck a vital point. The other had died a miserable death. The injuries on its body were clearly the result of a combined attack. By the fourth floor, nearly everyone was a treasure weapon. Every one of them was a superior-grade treasure weapon. However, there were not many peak treasure weapons. Xiao Chen found this name somewhat familiar. After a while he recalled it. It was the top true inheritor of the Heavenly Profound sect. This had attracted a Confucian scholar from the Heavenly Shaking Mountain, who had chased after it with great difficulty. In a moment of carelessness, that sword suddenly turned around. Thank you. However, the two corpses simply lay there, while the others ignored them. Their expressions were cold, causing people to feel an indescribable chill. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He said indifferently, "Nice to meet you. Everyone, there is no need to misunderstand. I will not take this saber. Don't worry." Xiao Chen smiled disdainfully, revealing a trace of mockery. A Dao tool was very mighty. When combined with his veritable essence energy and great Dao energy, its might increased. Lingyu must have found that short sword on the 5th floor. After being surrounded, he fled to the 1st floor and lured away most of the cultivators. The Heavenly Profound Sect's Gongxiemo? Whoosh. This was a Dao tool with a thick saber on its back. It gave off a heavy feeling. This saber was definitely boundlessly tyrannical, focusing on being bold and unyielding. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. When he looked around, he immediately discovered the two corpses. Before entering the fiendish demon battlefield, Lingyu had told Xiao Chen to take note of some people. This Gongxiemo was one of them. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Thank you. You are very fortunate. The Heavenly Profound Sect's Gongxiemo. I met you at Thunder Controlling Peak before. Aside from the restrictions of the 10,000 weapon pavilion, every good treasure weapon had its own temper. If one was not fated, it would be exceptionally difficult to subdue them by force." A strand of sword chi pierced towards Xiao Chen's eyes. At such a close distance, there was no way to dodge it. At the same time, Xiao Chen infused his veritable essence energy and great Dao energy into the saber. The smell of blood, the Dao might of these sabers were all incredibly strong. However, Xiao Chen found it unfortunate that they were not treasured sabers that he could use. In such an environment, subduing a Dao soldier was already difficult enough. No one would be willing to be distracted by something unimportant. Regardless of whether he needed this saber or not, who wouldn't be happy to be acknowledged? The 5th floor was filled with top-notch precious weapons, but there were only a few people subduing precious weapons. Be careful, don't be reckless. Xiao Chen waved his hand, and the sword landed in front of the Confucian scholar. "I'll give it to you." They hurriedly retreated and gathered together. They spread out their true origin shields and assumed defensive positions. The scabbard slammed into his abdomen, causing him to fall to the ground in pain. His facial features were squeezed together. The value of the Dao tool had already caused these disciples of the righteous sects to completely disregard human nature. Immediately, some people revealed surprised expressions when they saw the direction it was coming from. This small demonstration allowed Xiao Chen to personally experience subduing a treasure weapon in preparation for subduing a Dao tool. There was a total of 3 treasure weapons on this floor, all of them of different shapes. When Xiao Chen entered the 2nd floor, there were still profound weapons hovering in the air. However, there were already a few treasure weapons among them. There were only 20-odd people in the pavilion, making the great hall seem rather empty. The Dao tool chose its master. Any bladesman would feel happy when they saw this scene. One of the 3 treasure weapons seemed to sense Xiao Chen's gaze. With a whoosh, it flew over to him. The sword immediately trembled like a wild horse, trying to struggle free of Xiao Chen's hand. Xiao Chen did not even look at it. His figure flashed as he entered the third floor. Most of the treasure weapons on the third floor were profound weapons mixed in. Nearly all the sixth floor was filled with Dao tools. Even if they were not Dao tools, they were treasure weapons like the ink cloud sword. With a thought, the Dao tool on the ground sensed Xiao Chen's killing intent and charged at Gongxiemo whoosh. The treasure sword came out of its scabbard on its own. When the sword came out by 1 centimeter, it gave off a piercing light. The sharp sword light made one's heart tremble. For example, the person who subdued a treasure sword. The sword flew around in the air, moving freely in this 10,000 weapon pavilion, which gave off immense pressure. The Confucian scholar resting on the ground reminded Xiao Chen out of goodwill. When he saw that he was about to go to the sixth floor, Xiao Chen could sense the bloodline of one of the great desolate Ian's 10,000 races. Furthermore, that person's cultivation had reached late-stage major primal core realm. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt many cold gazes. The 10 true inheritors of the various sects, who were subduing Dao tools, all stopped what they were doing and looked at him coldly. Subduing a treasure weapon was an extremely difficult process. It might even be dangerous. The weapons that were not subdued in the 10,000 weapon pavilion were all hot-tempered horses. The 10,000 weapon pavilion was a natural horse farm. Xiao Chen forcefully clamped down on that formless sword qi with 2 fingers, turning it into a tangible sword light less than 1 centimeter away from his face. Xiao Chen did not find this strange. He looked around, searching for a Dao tool that was suitable for him. Xiao Chen ferociously clamped down with his left hand, and drove the veritable essence energy in his 9-star primal core, lighting up 6 stars on his 9-star primal core. When the Confucian scholar on the ground saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. The other cultivators subduing treasure weapons were startled. Xiao Chen pressed his hand on the sword hilt and smashed the entire sword into the ground. The scabbard sank into the ground by 1 centimeter, but it no longer moved. The greatest taboo was being interrupted and sneak attacked. Every time an outsider arrived, the people subduing the treasure weapon would be very careful. The less trouble, the better. Xiao Chen's target was the 7th floor, the highest floor of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. He did not want to get embroiled in a fight before he entered. This Gongxiemo did not give Xiao Chen any face at all. He said indifferently, "In the fiendish demon battlefield, strength speaks for everything. This is not thunder controlling peak. Don't play any tricks." A huge force spread out. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave as he clenched his fist tightly. However, he showed no intention of letting go. The true inheritors that dared to be here were definitely not like the 2 people on the 1st floor. While they might not be comparable to his sect's Hua Yinfeng, they were at least at the true profound realm. In an instant, 10 odd elite true inheritors stared at him. Even Xiao Chen felt some pressure. Xiao Chen let go, and the sword light shattered like ice. Then he pushed his left hand forward. Although the Heavenly Profound sect was a rank 3 sect in the Black Cave Mountain, and could not compare to the Purple Flame sect, the top true inheritor was definitely worthy of his reputation. After observing for a while, Xiao Chen gained a rough understanding of how to subdue a weapon. Then he headed for the 6th floor. Xiao Chen did not have any direct requirements for the saber. He only wanted one thing: fate. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "You want it? In that case, I'll give it to you." Everyone focused on subduing the Dao tool they wanted, not bothering about anything else. Even when Xiao Chen entered, he only gave it a quick glance. The Dao tool shone brightly, and Gongxiemo's expression changed as he forcefully caught this saber. This Dao might spread out, and the pressure on the 6th floor was immense. Gongxiemo was immediately knocked back, and blood leaked out of his lips. "Aha! You think you can give up just because you said so? Do you think you can speak? Subdue this saber and give it to us. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving alive." Sometimes, when a treasure sword was unsheathed and released a strand of sword qi, one might even lose their life. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Comprehending the saber Dao's great Dao energy on his own was rather interesting. "Friend, there will be Dao tools if we go up another floor. The pressure there is even greater. If we are not careful, we might really die." Clang! When the others discovered that Xiao Chen did not show any signs of making a move, They continued to subdue the peak treasure weapons. Their expressions were focused and strenuous. That Confucian scholar stuttered in shock. He had not expected happiness to come so suddenly. He had not expected Xiao Chun to subdue this treasure weapon so easily. Buzz. 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 Right after Xiao Chun spoke, he looked at the treasure sword that the Confucian scholar chased earlier. Then he narrowed his eyes and grasped it. Xiao Chun's arrival immediately attracted the attention of the 5 or 6 people present. They stopped subduing the treasure weapons and looked at him warily. It was like taming a fine horse. It was not as easy as one imagined. If one ran into one with a bad temper, one might even end up hurting oneself. A weapon that caught one's eye and aroused a strong desire in one's heart was the weapon that one wanted. Of course, if one truly subdued a Dao tool, then these people would pay attention to one at all times and suddenly attack. After charging up to the 6th floor, Xiao Chun clearly felt the pressure increase. His feet felt like lead, making it difficult to walk. He had to constantly expend veritable essence energy to resist this pressure. When facing a Dao tool that Xiao Chun got along with, Xiao Chun still dared to threaten him. He was overestimating himself. Unfortunately, you cannot handle it. Chapter 1699. After sending Gong Xiemo flying with a single strike, Xiao Chun smiled coldly. No one on the 6th floor dared to look down on him anymore. Gong Xiemo paled. He hesitated about activating his great desolate Ian bloodline to regain his face. However, who knew that after Xiao Chun comforted the Dao soldier, he went straight up to the 7th floor without even looking back. 7th floor. It turned out that Xiao Chun's target had been the 7th floor all along. The true inheritors of the various sects present were all stunned. Their faces sank, and they all revealed surprised expressions. The 7th floor was a place that even they did not dare to go to. Everyone knew that the 7th floor stored the best Dao tools. However, the people who dared to go to the 7th floor were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns in the 3 blessed lands. Not only did they have to be strong, they also had to be courageous and charismatic. The 7th floor was filled with Dao soldiers. As dozens of Dao might layered over each other, it was boundlessly majestic. Under that pressure, he still had to subdue the Dao soldiers. If he was not careful, he would die on the spot. You are famous in the blessed lands, dazzling among your peers. You are even more famous in the entire Grave Sea cluster. You already have a bright future ahead of you. As long as you follow the prescribed order, you will be able to become an important figure in the sect. In the future, you will be able to roam the Sea of Clouds freely. However, now that you have come to the 10,000 Weapon Pavilion 7th floor, you must have the determination and courage to believe that you are already dead, that all the glory has nothing to do with you. Without great courage, no one would dare to go up to the 7th floor. For example, Gong Xiemo was strong enough, and had the bloodline of the desolate 10,000 races. However, he didn't dare to go up. There was no other reason. It was because he cherished his life. However, at this moment Xiao Chun, who had just been threatened, turned around and directly stepped into the 7th floor. The thought of using his great desolate Ian bloodline to take a gamble immediately vanished. Now he felt a stifling sense of defeat. When facing such a courageous person, even if he used his great desolate Ian bloodline, the other party would still dare to fight with his life on the line. Cowering before the battle, how could one talk about victory? Xiao Chun, who had charged into the 7th floor, did not care about what Gong Xiemo thought. He was a person who did not dare to enter the 7th floor. No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't put him in his eyes. This person wasn't worth remembering. The entrance to the 7th floor was a barrier formed by a curtain of water and light. If one wanted to enter the 7th floor, they had to pass through the barrier first, which was equivalent to setting up a threshold. Before this barrier, Xiao Chun felt a surging might and pressure that felt like a surging wave. Just by standing there, he felt an immense pressure, making it difficult for him to move. Hua! A figure appeared on the water screen. It was Xiao Chun himself, looking at him coldly. With a thought, Xiao Chun immediately guessed the purpose of the water screen. Only by killing himself could a dead person enter the 10,000 Weapon Pavilion 7th floor. Only those who had forgotten about life and death, and dared to fight with their lives could enter the 7th floor. Immediately, Xiaochen sucked in a breath of air. Those who dared to enter the 7th floor, aside from those who were extremely strong, were all ruthless people who dared to risk their lives. They did not care about the glory in front of them. They only wanted to obtain a Dao tool and fight for their future. Their vision was no longer limited to the Cloud Sea cluster. This kind of person was the most terrifying. However, fortunately, Xiaochen was such a person as well. He desired this kind of competition, which could make the hot-bloodedness in his body surge again. Spreading out his great Dao energy and forgetting about life and death, Xiaochen strode forward and passed through the water screen. Kasie. Xiaochen's figure on the water screen immediately shattered. After entering this door, he no longer cared about life and death. What a strong pressure! The moment Xiaochen entered, he felt an immense pressure everywhere. The air pressed down on him like waves. Xiaochen! Just at this moment, a soft exclamation rang out. Xiaochen looked in the direction of the voice, and saw that it was the top true inheritor of his sect, Hua Yinfeng. At this moment, Hua Yinfeng was subduing a treasure sword. Normally, Hua Yinfeng was calm. Now he found it difficult to move, feeling a mountain-like pressure. When Hua Yinfeng saw Xiaochen arrive, he revealed a look of surprise on his face. Xiaochen nodded slightly as a form of greeting. Then he started to observe the environment of the 7th floor. The 7th floor was very vast, especially with the few people scattered around. It appeared even more spacious. Another difference from the other floors was that the ceiling was extremely high. When one looked up, one could not see the ceiling clearly. It was at least 3 kilometers tall. Furthermore, due to the support of the Dao Might, when one looked up, one would get the misconception that it was infinitely tall. All the Dao tools formed a small circle in the middle, and climbed all the way to the ceiling. Including Xiaochen and Hua Yinfeng, there were only 8 people on the entire 7th floor. The Patala Mountain had a total of 3 monks. Aside from Hua Yinfeng and Xiaochen, there was a woman who cultivated righteous qi, and 2 other Confucian scholars from the heavenly shaking mountain. That woman had delicate features and looked valiant and formidable. She looked even more righteous than the male Confucian scholars. When she saw Xiaochen looking at her, she smiled faintly and continued subduing the Dao tool that she wanted, a Confucian sex sword. The 3 monks ignored Xiaochen's arrival, focusing on subduing the Dao tool that they wanted. As for the 2 Confucian scholars, they only glanced at Xiaochen indifferently and ignored him. However, it looked like the situation was not good, including Hua Yinfeng's. Subduing the Dao tool was still a long way off. The Dao Might here was too strong. They could not even bring out 50% of their strength. The various Dao tools were even more unruly and unyielding, showing their pride. For example, one of the 3 monks was trying to subdue a heavy bronze Buddhist staff that glowed with Buddhist light, and after a few attempts, he failed. After a few attempts, not only did he not manage to touch it, but he even got severely injured. Fortunately, the monk's indestructible iron body had already reached a certain level, so it was not a big problem. It is time to find the Dao tool that I need. Xiaochen looked around and fixed his gaze on the pillar formed by the Dao tools in the middle. Then he looked from bottom to top, carefully searching. This saber has no scabbard, showing off its sharpness. It does not know how to endure. Not suitable. This saber has no edge and is very heavy. It is the first choice for vital qi cultivators. Not suitable. The Dao contained in this saber is the flame Dao. It has nothing to do with me. Not suitable. Not suitable. Not suitable. Not suitable. Xiaochen rejected 10 odd Dao tools with one glance. Then he looked higher and higher. In the blink of an eye, he had finished choosing everything he could see. Whoosh! Enduring the immense pressure, Xiaochen could only soar into the air and continue choosing. Those who bite off more than they can chew will fall sooner or later. Nanjing, one of the 2 male Confucian scholars, looked at Xiaochen with increasingly higher standards. He coldly eyed him in disdain. The others also revealed mocking expressions at Nanjing's actions. Xiaochen truly did not know his limits. The Dao Might of the 7th floor was boundlessly vast. Even standing on the ground was difficult. To think that Xiaochen dared to fly up. He was truly suicidal. Brother Xiaochen, don't be too rash. This place is different from the outside world. If you accidentally trigger the rage of the Dao tools, you might be affected by the attacks of many Dao might. It is best to be careful. Hua Yunfeng could not bear to watch this. However, Xiao Chun was an honored guest of the Purple Flame sect, after all, so he warned Xiao Chun out of goodwill with a slight frown. Many thanks for Brother Hua's warning. I will be careful. Xiao Chun thought to himself, although these people have abandoned their obsession with life and death, the cautiousness in their bones cannot be changed. If not for the special reason that he could not find a Dao tool that he liked, Xiao Chun would not have taken such a risk. However, Xiao Chun would never compromise. The saber was a bladesman's second life. All the more, he could not afford to be careless. He absolutely could not choose a random saber. If he wanted to choose, he had to choose one that he liked. Otherwise, he would not be able to bring out the full might of the saber. A vast Dao might surged over. Xiao Chun felt like he was carrying a mountain as he soared into the air. The pressure was immense. Whoosh! Suddenly, for some reason, a prideful sword drew out by 1 centimeter. A strand of intense, dazzling light, accompanied by a strand of sword qi, stabbed at Xiao Chun. This caught Xiao Chun off guard, startling him. Fortunately, he had been careful, remaining cautious. Xiao Chun threw a punch with all his might, shattering this strand of sword qi. However, his fist was dripping with blood. The injury was too horrible to look at. Even his bones were exposed. This showed how sharp the sword light was. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword qi shattered into countless pieces that flew in all directions, creating a strong gust of wind that caused the environment in the 7th floor to become even worse. This brat is really seeking death. The other male Confucian scholar, Gong Sunpa, shook his head and continued subduing the sword that caught his eye. Slowly, Xiao Chun figured out the pattern. After he reached a certain height, he would get attacked by a Dao tool every 100 meters. Hence, after ascending for less than 1 kilometer, Xiao Chun was already riddled with wounds. His white robes were stained with blood. Slowly, the expressions of the others changed as they looked at Xiao Chun. They all felt a horror in their hearts. This white-clad man's will was too tenacious. The Dao tools here were the best of the best, not much different from each other. There was no need to fly so high and take such a huge risk, all for the sake of a saber that caught their eye. The Dao tools that these people chose were not to their liking. However, as long as they were passable, it would be fine. As long as one could bring out a Dao tool, it would already be an incredible matter. It would definitely shake up the entire Grave Sea. In the future, one would be confident of advancing to the Cloud Sea realm, gaining boundless glory. Xiao Chun's stubbornness was truly foolish. Where did this fellow come from? Why does he not have the air of a famous sect at all? Hua Yunfeng's heart pounded. Right now, Xiao Chun looked like a barbarian to him. Whoosh! Suddenly, a spear appeared at lightning speed, thrusting at Xiao Chun in an irregular manner. A spot of cold light flashed in the surroundings. The expressions of the 7 people below changed. This spear was too fast and too cold. It was merciless. They could not dodge it. The piercing cold light made everyone close their eyes involuntarily. When they opened their eyes again, they saw that Xiao Chun had already grasped the spear. However, Xiao Chun forcefully pushed the spearhead back by 2 centimeters, avoiding a vital point and stabbing into his shoulder. Cold qi entered Xiao Chun's body, and the great Dao energy of the ice Dao spread throughout his body. His body immediately wobbled, on the verge of collapsing at any moment. His 9-star primal core bore the brunt of the attack, getting sealed in ice. Xiao Chun's limbs turned cold, and his entire body turned stiff. His body slowly fell. The ice froze his other injuries, making him completely numb. Buzz! 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 The spear still trembled endlessly. Even after the sudden strike, its energy did not diminish. Instead, it poured into Xiao Chun's body in an unending stream. I've gone too far. Despair welled up in Xiao Chun's heart. His limbs turned numb. It felt like even his blood was frozen. He could not activate his great desolate Ian bloodline, even if he wanted to. Whoosh! Just as Xiao Chun's consciousness turned hazy, a bright saber light flashed above the Dao tool pillar. Xiao Chun's originally lifeless eyes caught sight of this saber light, and saw half of the Dao tool. In the next moment, the saber light vanished, and he could no longer see it. An intense, irrepressible desire immediately welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the Dao tool that I spent so much effort to find. I absolutely cannot give up here. I absolutely cannot. Chapter 1700. The most tenacious will from the bottom of his heart allowed Xiao Chen to withstand this boundless pressure, not giving up even in the face of adversity. Influenced by this will, the frozen blood in Xiao Chen's body slowly started to surge and flow in his body once more. After recovering his qi and blood, Xiao Chen used all his strength and shouted. Then he grabbed the spear with his right hand and ferociously pulled it out. Like he was venting, he tossed the spear to the ground. Whoosh! 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 Frost froze all over Xiao Chen's body and fell to the ground. He regained his mobility, and the energy of his 9-star primal core broke through the ice. In the next moment, Xiao Chen circulated his veritable essence energy, expelling 80% of the cold qi. A resplendent flame burned on Xiao Chen's palms. Hua Yunfeng, who was about to make a move to save Xiao Chen, felt startled when he saw the scene and stopped. After tossing the spear away, Xiao Chen's aura soared. He roared ferociously and flew forward at lightning speed, heading for the treasure saber that interested him. Could this fellow have really succeeded? Such a scene, a startling counterattack, excited the others. Some of them felt anticipation, some of them envious, and a faint murderous intent lingered in their hearts. Xiao Chen, who was going against the flow, made a breakthrough in his aura, reaching a whole new level. This made his aura flourish. Saber light and Dao might spread all over his body. His white robes were stained with blood, adding to his elegance. His body was covered in wounds, showing his glory. The only woman present could not help but reveal a hint of admiration in her eyes. Compared to the elegant and scholarly Wang Yueming, this person seemed to be more manly. The heavenly shaking mountain's Wang Yueming was handsome, elegant and outstanding. He was the dream lover of many women in the heavenly shaking mountain. Of course, this woman only felt this out of pure admiration, and did not have any other intentions. She did not even have any other thoughts about Wang Yueming. This person's name was Baiyu. Before entering the fiendish demon battlefield, he was one of Wang Yueming's 3 great opponents. I see it. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. After reaching 2 kilometers, he peered through the layers of Dao might, and saw the treasure saber that was imprinted in his heart. The saber was sheathed. It was 4 feet long, straight and tough. It was an extended Dao tool that looked like a horizontal saber. Perfect. Other than perfect, Xiao Chen couldn't think of any other words to describe it. This was the companion he dreamed of. Bang. But just as he got close, the saber suddenly moved. With lightning speed, the end of the scabbard stabbed into Xiao Chen's chest. Poochie. In the air, Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. Then he plummeted toward the ground at a speed several times faster than when he had arrived. With a loud bang, he fell to the ground. Xiao Chen felt as though his entire back was falling apart. There wasn't a single part of his body that didn't hurt, and he couldn't help but groan in pain. Pooh! When the scholar named Nanjing saw Xiao Chen's miserable appearance after falling from the heavens to the bottom of the valley, he could not help but mock him. I thought he was some kind of shocking figure, but it turns out that he's only SOSO. Nanjing smiled coldly and ignored him, continuing to subdue her Dao tools. However, Xiao Chen's Dao tool did not look like it would submit at all. After it exhausted its energy and stamina, failure was only a matter of time. Hua Yunfeng walked over with a bitter smile. He stretched out his hand and said, I respect you for being a man. Xiao Chen, who had fallen to the ground, was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. When he heard this, he could not help but smile. He took Hua Yunfeng's hand and pulled him up. Xiao Chen took out the 2 medicinal pills that Yi Zifeng left behind. Xiao Chen consumed one and gave the other to Hua Yunfeng. Phoenix Blood Pill. This is the holy pill for treating injuries that Martial Grand Uncle obtained in the Great Thousand Realms. Hua Yunfeng smelled it and immediately recognized it. However, he did not accept it. You are not keeping it for yourself? Given your tenacity, even if you fail again, you will not give up, right? Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly and said, I already consumed it twice. If I consume it again, the effects will be much weaker. Most importantly, I only have one chance. Xiaochen vaguely sensed that the saber would only give him one more chance. If he failed, he would never succeed. It would be very difficult for Xiaochen to gather his aura 3 times. Doing it in one go would be the best. However, Xiaochen failed. It was hard to avoid his aura weakening a second time. A third time, no matter how strong his will was, it would hit rock bottom. Some things could not be changed by a person's will. After all, the body was made of flesh and blood. When Hua Yunfeng heard that, he accepted the Phoenix blood pill. That is too unfortunate. You should choose something else. It might not be the best. Xiaochen's eyes blazed with determination. I do not know if it is the best or not. I only know that it is most suitable for me. If I cannot obtain it, I will leave the 10,000 weapon pavilion. What is the point of obtaining it if I do not love it? Hua Yunfeng could not help feeling stunned for a while as he watched Xiaochen focus on treating his injuries, not discouraged at all. What is the point of obtaining it if I do not love it? Hua Yunfeng muttered to himself, feeling ashamed of his inferiority. Bai Yu, who had been paying attention to the two, was also stunned for a while. What is the point of obtaining it if I do not love it? The others had long since stopped paying attention to Xiaochen. They did not believe that Xiaochen, who fell to the ground in a sorry state from that gentle strike, had any chance. As Xiaochen closed his eyes and treated his injuries, he quickly thought about the reasons for his earlier failure. The first was that he was too severely injured and lacked experience. He got injured the first time he encountered the Dao Tool's attack. After that, he continuously dodged every 100 meters, accumulating strength, causing his injuries to erupt. By the time he got close to that treasured saber, his combat prowess was already less than 20%. The second was that he did not expect that Dao Tool's attack speed to be so fast and ferocious. The Dao Tool did not give Xiaochen a chance to react at all, stabbing him down. The final reason was that Xiaochen's will was not strong enough. The instant the Dao Tool struck him, the cold assaulted his body. Xiaochen's primal core and blood froze. His first reaction was to give up. After entering this door, he had already given up on life and death. If he still gave up, he would simply be lying to himself. Whether he truly had the boldness to risk his life or not, whether he truly had the determination to go all out in one go, was the key to success. Did he? Did he? Did he? Yes. Xiaochen asked himself 3 times in his heart. Each time, it penetrated deep into his soul, into his bones, and into the surging hot-bloodedness in his entire body. After repeating it 3 times, Xiaochen opened his eyes and looked at the treasured saber at the top. Xiaochen did not hesitate at all. With a howl, he charged up decisively. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Xiaochen ascended, he resisted the pressure, advancing without retreating. As he ascended, the Dao Tools along the way attacked him continuously every 100 meters. However, this time Xiaochen did not dodge. The more he dodged, the more cautious he became. Under the suppression of the Dao might above him, his injuries became even more severe. This was because every moment he delayed worsened his injuries by 100-fold. As Xiaochen ascended, he absorbed all the attacks from the Dao Tools. However, because he was too slow, his injuries only accumulated and did not erupt. His combat prowess did not decrease. It was as if a monstrous flood had accumulated to a terrifying degree, but it had just touched the dam. The moment it touched the dam, it was safe. In the next moment, when the flood's energy erupted, the dam would collapse. Right now, Xiaochen felt the same way. He only had 3 seconds to recover to his peak state. In these 3 seconds, the accumulated injuries would erupt, and his injuries would be even more severe than the previous time. However, these 3 seconds were sufficient. These 3 seconds were what Xiaochen lacked. He looked at the unruly Dao Tool, and saw the treasured saber stabbing at him at lightning speed again without hesitation. With Xiaochen's peak combat prowess, the lightning-fast speed of that treasured saber seemed much slower in Xiaochen's eyes. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiaochen stretched out his hand and grabbed it firmly before the Dao Tool could injure him. Rumble. The treasured saber struggled continuously in Xiaochen's hand. The entire hall of the 7th floor started shaking intensely. The treasured saber erupted with startling energy. Xiaochen showed a ferocious expression as he gritted his teeth. Veins popped out on his arms as he refused to let go. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. It looked like the 3 seconds would be up soon. The horrifying injuries from dozens of Dao tools would erupt. Suddenly, Xiaochen's clear eyes shone with a golden light. He opened his great desolate divine eyes and instantly activated his blue dragon bloodline. The tyrannical dragon might of the ancient blue dragon spread out from Xiaochen's body. He shouted ferociously, sounding like a true dragon roaring. "Get down!" Xiaochen held the treasured saber with his right hand and ferociously pulled it down. Bang! 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 The Dao tools formed a circular pillar. As Xiaochen descended at lightning speed, there was a loud sound. Boundless Dao might fluctuated, and the descending Dao tools were knocked away by Xiaochen. Dang! The final second passed. Xiaochen knelt on one knee while holding the scabbard. He stabbed the end of the scabbard into the ground. All the injuries and the repercussions of activating the blue dragon bloodline erupted. Xiaochen could no longer hold back. All the skin on his body ruptured and blood spurted out. Xiaochen vomited a mouthful of blood, which splashed on the scabbard and slowly fell. The blood washed away the dust, revealing an ancient word on the scabbard. Tyrant. From the moment Xiaochen opened his eyes to the moment he landed, only 6 seconds had passed. Many people turned their heads and discovered that Xiaochen was already holding a Dao tool. He tyrannically knocked away hundreds of Dao tools before landing on one knee. A berserk aura spread out. Together with the blood-soaked Xiaochen, everyone was startled. Nanjing, who had chuckled at Xiaochen earlier, was stupefied. Her eyes nearly fell out. What's going on? The 3 monks blocked the aftershock of Xiaochen's landing. Their expressions were as shocked as if they had seen the Kasayapa Buddha. Their movements completely froze. Hua Yunfeng felt somewhat agitated, showing an excited expression. Xiaochen really did it. The heavenly shaking mountains by you looked around at the Dao tools that Xiaochen knocked away. He felt somewhat speechless. This person was truly too tyrannical, too ruthless. They were already ruthless enough, daring to take the risk and enter the 7th floor. However, compared to Xiaochen, they were far from comparable. At the same time, the hundreds of layers of Dao might encasing the 10,000 weapon pavilion were also disrupted. The Dao might went out of control, and a berserk aura swept out in all directions, stirring up winds and clouds. The entire fiendish demon battlefield trembled. A terrifying mysterious phenomenon enveloped the 10,000 weapon pavilion, spreading to every corner of the fiendish demon battlefield. Amid this chaotic and mixed Dao might, only a tyrannical aura was exceptionally clear. Everyone who felt it trembled in fear. Chapter 1701. On the 7th floor of the 10,000 weapon pavilion, Xiaochen held the tyrant saber. His entire body was bathed in blood, on the verge of collapse. Not only were there many different great Dao energies in the injuries that had accumulated in his body, but there were also great Dao energies that were either icy cold, scorching hot, lightning, or disdain. There were dozens of great Dao energies, not just one. There were also the repercussions of activating the blue dragon bloodline. When the layers of great Dao energies exploded together, it was like a dam bursting unstoppable. Xiaochen's strong blue dragon war body and strong and resilient physique were like a dam bursting in a flood. Xiaochen allowed the many terrifying Dao energies to run rampant in his body. His body was like a pool of stagnant water. If he did not control it, it would be extremely horrifying. In the next moment, he would explode and die. This was not an exaggeration at all. The might of a Dao tool was horrifying in the first place. Furthermore, Xiaochen endured dozens of different great Dao energies in one go. When they layered over each other, it could be said that his body was filled with demons. All the blood vessels in Xiaochen's body burst, and blood oozed out of his body. He looked like a horrifying blood person. Hua Yunfeng reacted quickly. While the others were still in a daze, he took advantage of this chaotic moment. His figure flashed and arrived beside Xiaochen. Then he placed a palm strike on Xiaochen's back. At this crucial moment, Hua Yunfeng sent a mouthful of warm veritable essence energy into Xiaochen's body. Hua Yinfeng was fire attributed in the first place. Although he did not comprehend the fire Dao, he already grasped the flame domain, and could control fire energy as he pleased. This mouthful of warm veritable essence energy was a life-saving straw. It temporarily neutralized the various chaotic great Dao energies in Xiao Chen's body. It gave the body a precious chance to catch a breath, and the originally stagnant body functions began to improve. Xiao Chen's originally stagnant body was like a highly efficient and precise machine moving slowly. Whoosh! Just at this moment, many murderous gazes landed on Xiao Chen at the same time. The appearance of a Dao tool would definitely change the ranking of the three Blessed Lands geniuses. To put it more accurately, it might even affect the ranking of the various factions for the next few hundred years. Be it to themselves or to their sects, it would have a direct impact. The outstanding talents here, be it the monks or the heavenly shaking mountains Confucian scholars, were all decisive and intelligent people. They instantly felt a murderous intent. You leave first. I'll hold them off for a while. There was no point in saying anything more. Hua Yinfeng turned around and arrived before Xiao Chen. Then he threw a palm strike and sent Xiao Chen flying toward the entrance of the 7th floor. Hua Yinfeng had always been a calm and scheming person. He cherished his reputation. His character was very well demonstrated on the thunder-controlling peak. He would help Xiao Chen to the best of his ability. Beyond a certain price, they would consider all sorts of consequences and make their move. But now when it came to the interests of the sect, he was incomparably decisive. At this moment, they had to protect Xiao Chen. No matter what, a Dao soldier had landed in their sect. It was definitely better than ending up in the hands of the other sects, even if they did not obtain the Dao tool. After sending Hua Yinfeng flying with a palm strike, Xiao Chen leaped into the air, using the momentum to leap out of the entrance. He turned his head and looked deeply at Hua Yinfeng, who had helped him delay the others. This person was worth befriending. With just a glance, he quickly turned around. Given the current situation, if he stayed here, he would definitely die. Not only would he not be able to help the other party, but he would also be a burden. Hua Yinfeng probably had some life-saving means and would not die so easily. The instant Xiao Chen turned his head back, his face sank. He discovered that the valiant female disciple of the heavenly shaking mountain was already waiting here. Baiyu was very intelligent. After she sighed when Xiao Chen obtained the Dao tool, she immediately knew that this was an opportunity. Her figure flashed out of the chaotic 7th floor, and arrived at the entrance, waiting for her prey. Xiao Chen's first reaction was to draw his saber. However, when he did so, he could not draw it out of its scabbard. A stunned expression appeared on his face. A confident smile appeared on Baiyu's face. It looks like you did not have time to completely subdue this saber. Hand it over then. Boom. However, who knew? After Xiao Chen revealed a stunned expression, he simply held the sheathed tyrant saber. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen executed the flawless saber technique's heartbreaking stance. This saber shattered the heart, shattering oneself first before shattering others. Xiao Chen was already injured to begin with. When his heart shattered, all sorts of intense pain appeared, pushing the pain from the heartbreaking stance to an unprecedented level. The sharpness of this move surpassed all the previous ones. Baiyu revealed an extremely shocked expression. She had not expected Xiao Chen to dare to clash head-on despite being so severely injured. When the weapons clashed, Baiyu did not suffer any injuries on the surface. However, her chest instantly shattered, and the intense pain made her tremble. There was no way to draw it in the first place. I was just lying to you. Xiao Chen did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he directly knocked Baiyu into the air, and quickly descended. Baiyu fell by the wall, clutching her chest. She showed an expression of unbearable pain. She had never experienced such intense pain in her life. Xiao Chen entered the 6th floor. The many true inheritors immediately discovered the blood-soaked Xiao Chen. They all showed stunned expressions. Then they looked around and fixed their gazes on the tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand. Their hearts immediately raced as two exciting words appeared in their minds. Dao tool. The strongest person here, Gongzi Mo, thought quickly, wondering if he should use his great desolate Ian bloodline to gamble. However, When he thought about how Xiao Chen knocked him back with one move earlier and how helpless he felt, he feared that Xiao Chen still had a desperate move. If he attacked now, both sides would end up injured, and the others would benefit. However, anyone would be reluctant to give up just like that. Should I attack? Should I attack? Should I attack? Gongzi Mo felt conflicted. Bang! How could Xiao Chen care so much? When he saw Gongzi Mo's unfocused gaze and restless thoughts, his figure flashed and he stabbed the scabbard into Gongzi Mo's chest. Gongzi Mo was knocked into the ground and vomited a mouthful of blood. His complexion paled, and his eyes filled with horror. When Gongzi Mo saw Xiao Chen's ferocious gaze and tyrannical aura, he felt that death was so close to him for the first time in his life. He was hesitant, decisive, and soft. The opportunity was right in front of him, but this Gongzi Mo could not grasp it. It could only be said that despite his strength he was still trash in the end. I'll spare your life. Xiao Chen, who no longer had the strength to continue attacking, said coldly. Then, before the others could react, he quickly rushed down. Gongzi Mo held his wound and heaved a long sigh. He felt that it was good to be alive. However, Gongzi Mo suddenly thought of something, and heavy regret appeared on his face. That bastard attacked so ruthlessly and decisively. If he could kill me, how could he not kill me? He was simply injured and could not continue killing me. The blockhead Gongzi Mo finally became smart for once. However, he was heavily injured, so he could not give chase. Gongzi Mo roared. Bunch of fools. What are you all standing there for? That bastard is injured. Quickly chase after him. He holds a Dao tool. How can we let him off? The true inheritors of the other sects startled to their senses. They all showed regretful expressions, frightened by Xiao Chen. Now that Xiao Chen reminded them, they immediately came to their senses and gave chase. The vast sixth floor was now empty. Only Gongzi Mo remained. He clenched his fist as he lay on the ground, continuously pounding the floor. Damn it! Damn it! Why did I hesitate? That earlier moment might have been the best opportunity for Gongzi Mo to obtain a Dao tool in his life. However, not only did he not accomplish anything, but he even got severely injured by Xiao Chen. Furthermore, he even had to thank Xiao Chen for sparing his life. Gongzi Mo's thoughts were in a mess. Regret and hatred filled his heart. His lips twitched, and he could not breathe properly. Then he vomited a mouthful of blood. Capture him. He holds a Dao tool. When Gongzi Mo reached the fifth floor, he could no longer muddle his way through. The cultivators of the various floors all startled awake and chased after him, not willing to let up for even a moment. Xiao Chen showed a calm expression as he held the tyrant's saber. Aside from occasionally causing some chaos, he did not linger. However, the chase did not stop. There were people from the sixth floor, the fifth floor, the fourth floor, the third floor, the second floor. Instead, the number of people chasing increased. Gongzi Mo managed to reach the first floor with much difficulty. Kill him. He holds a Dao tool. Countless shouts came from the second floor, startling the cultivators on the first floor to their senses. Greed appeared in their eyes as they looked at Xiao Chen, preparing to pounce over. A nameless flame immediately flared up in Xiao Chen's heart. The moment it flared up, it burned even more fiercely. The sixth floor, the fifth floor, the fourth floor. It was one thing for those people to chase after him. However, the weakest disciples of the sects on the first floor were like ants. Yet they dared to bully and humiliate him. This was intolerable. Xiao Chen roared ferociously and spread out his Dao energy. Then he slammed the tyrant's saber on the ground. Clang! A boundless tyrannical aura spread out, controlling the profound weapons on the first floor to shoot out with Dao energy. The profound artifact saber that contained Dao energy wasn't something that the people on the first floor could block. In that instant, miserable cries rang out. The cultivators launching themselves at Xiao Chen were either injured or knocked into the air. They were either injured or sent flying one after another, falling to the ground. It was a tragic sight to behold. This was especially so when a group of people got knocked into the air. Under Xiao Chen's control, they happened to block the entrance to the second floor, buying him some precious time. Xiao Chen turned around and gently drifted out of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. After he landed, he did not even look back as he rushed forward. Boom! Just at this moment, The 1,000-odd beams of Dao-might light encasing the 10,000-weapon pavilion vanished, leaving only a scarlet beam of Dao-might light. The light coalesced into a majestic and tyrannical figure. When that figure roared, the entire fiendish demon battlefield trembled intensely. Then, that figure laughed loudly, looking tragic and stirring. Amid the desolation, there was a mocking look of disdain for life and death. That lingering laughter rang in the ears of everyone in the entire fiendish demon battlefield. After the laughter faded, that figure seemed to feel incredibly delighted. It turned into boundless scarlet light, and returned to the tyrant's saber in Xiao Chen's hand. The sky instantly turned dark. Boundless darkness encased the fiendish demon battlefield. Only the scarlet light on Xiao Chen's body soared into the sky, looking exceptionally eye-catching. Damn it now, I can't leave even if I want to. Amid the scarlet light, Xiao Chen felt helpless as he held the trembling tyrant's saber. Although he knew that this might be some kind of inheritance, this was not the right time. After a while, the scarlet light vanished. However, the tyrant's saber in Xiao Chen's hand became even heavier. At the same time, Shangguan Lei, Wang Yueming, and the profound light temple's Zhen Yuan, who were hundreds of kilometers away from the 10,000-weapon pavilion, all felt this Dao might. Chapter 1702. In a desolate area of the fiendish demon battlefield, black clouds shrouded the land, thunderclouds surged, the air was filled with miasma, not a single blade of grass grew on the ground. Crushed stones stood in great numbers, and in the distance were undulating mountains. Occasionally, fiendish demons roared ferociously as they came from the mountains to a forbidden land of the fiendish demon battlefield. The environment was vile and demons were everywhere. Very few people walked out alive, and there were no fortuitous opportunities within. Other than demons, there were more demons. However, to some people, cruel and brutal demons were the best opportunity. At this moment, the plain of rubble was filled with rows and rows of demon corpses. There was no end to them. Many of them had even been eroded by the wind, leaving only their skeletons exposed. Amidst the strong winds, a tall and sturdy figure holding a saber dripping with blood was looking into the distance. A peak major primal core fiendish demon had just fallen before him. Wounds covered this fiendish demon's body, and it was not wearing any armor at all. Crackle! Lightning flickered around his body, giving off crisp sounds in the air. This person was none other than the purple flame sex Shangguan Lei, the strongest true inheritor of the Black Cave Mountain. Xiao Chen looked into the distance. In the extremely distant sky, the Dao might was chaotic, stirring up winds and clouds. A tyrannical aura swept through the entire fiendish demon battlefield. Dao soldiers appear. Shock flashed in Shangguan Lei's eyes. In the entire fiendish demon battlefield, no one had managed to take away a Dao tool in the past 1,000 years. A moment later he grinned, making people feel that it was exceptionally scary. Master's teachings were indeed correct. Temper yourself in peace and constantly surpass yourself. Opportunities will always appear on their own. While he was in the fiendish demon battlefield, Xiao Chen had to improve every day. Otherwise, he would have to endure the pain of lightning corroding his heart. That kind of pain was enough to make one wish they were dead. After trying it once, they would never want to try it a second time. Hence, when Xiao Chen came to the fiendish demon battlefield, he did not seek out any fortuitous encounters, completely immersed in killing fiendish demons. He enjoyed the thrill of the hot-bloodedness brought by the battle between life and death. Unknowingly, Xiao Chen's strength had risen to peak major primal core realm, only one step away from the Cloud Sea realm. Shangguan Lei smiled coldly. He was determined to obtain this Dao tool that appeared. So. As Xiao Chen stepped on the corpses strewn all over the place, he moved 1 kilometer with each step, heading for the 10,000 weapon pavilion. Eventually his speed increased. With every step he took, a corpse would be crushed and dust would spread everywhere. In the 10,000 flower garden, he relied on his own strength and the folding fan left behind by his master. In this place, Wang Yueming swept through all directions, and no one could contend against him. The huge garden was almost completely occupied by him. All kinds of exotic flowers, rare herbs, natural treasures, almost everything that could be found was found by him. If there were some places that were truly too dangerous and impossible to enter, the harvest would be even more astonishing. When something strange happened in the 10,000 weapon pavilion, he sat cross-legged on the ground and slowly opened his eyes. A trace of doubt appeared on his handsome and refined face. Dao soldier. To think that there really was someone who obtained a Dao tool. That was originally Xiao Chen's next destination. Who knew that someone would get there first? Xiao Chen had already heard about the difficulty of obtaining a Dao tool from his predecessors. One could not obtain one just by having sufficient strength. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Originally, he wanted to sweep through the 10,000 flower garden and refine the exotic flowers, rare herbs, and natural treasures he obtained. When his strength improved again, he would be absolutely confident of subduing a Dao tool. Who knew? However, that's fine. It might be easier to obtain in your hands. Wang Yueming smiled faintly, revealing heavy confidence. Then, he slowly opened the folding fan in his hand and soared into the air. Thousands of flowers looked very beautiful, competing with each other in beauty. As the fresh flowers danced, Xiao Chen moved through the hundreds of flowers. Not a single leaf touched him, looking indescribably elegant and free. Bang! 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 The profound light temple's Zhenyuan was publicly recognized as the strongest existence in the three blessed lands. Zhenyuan's choice was the same as the purple flame sect's Shangguan Lei's, tempering himself among the fiendish demons and not searching for fortuitous encounters. Zhenyuan bared his upper body. His bronze-colored muscles looked like they were painted gold as he fought an intense battle among the fiendish demons. When Zhenyuan attacked, he gave off a Buddhist light, appearing ferocious and tyrannical. The chest of the fiendish demon that Zhenyuan punched cracked like broken rocks, revealing an expression of extreme pain. Zhenyuan's fist technique was completely different from the Buddhist sect's martial techniques, a mixture of real and fake. His moves were bold, complementing his indestructible iron body that he had cultivated to an extremely high level. Zhenyuan, who was surrounded by the fiendish demons, appeared exceptionally relaxed. His expression was as calm as still water, not showing any joy or anger. Dao tool. When Zhenyuan sensed the mysterious phenomenon caused by the 10,000 weapon pavilion, he frowned slightly, revealing a grave expression. He was not very interested in the Dao tool. Instead, he was thinking about something else. A Dao tool did not appear for 1,000 years. Once it did, it would definitely be exceptionally precious. It would definitely cause a chain reaction, triggering a huge storm. Is there going to be a change in the fiendish demon battlefield? While Zhenyuan felt doubtful, the many fiendish demons surged with killing qi, taking advantage of this opportunity to charge over. Boom! Zhenyuan punched the ground, and a golden fist light shot out. Buddhist might erupted, and a huge swastika appeared on the ground. The fiendish demons charging at Zhenyuan got blasted away, their flesh and blood flying everywhere. However, under the illumination of the Buddhist light, they were purified on the spot. When the fiendish demons landed, only rows of peaceful corpses remained. After making up his mind, Zhenyuan leaped into the air and rushed in the direction of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. Whoosh! Suddenly, the dust on the ground sank. A huge Buddhist swastika appeared on the flat ground, looking like it had existed since ancient times. Xiao Chen, who had not gone far from the 10,000 weapon pavilion, did not know that he had startled the top geniuses of the three blessed lands. Even if he knew, he would not have time to care. At this moment, the scarlet Dao light that suddenly appeared above the 10,000 weapon pavilion entered the tyrant saber, making it exceptionally heavy. The tyrant saber's movement technique was significantly affected. The mysterious phenomenon startled the cultivators of the various sects near the 10,000 weapon pavilion. This was especially so in that moment earlier. The sky had turned dark, and only that scarlet Dao light encased the tyrant saber. Everyone knew that the Dao tool was in Xiao Chen's hands. As far as the eye could see, there were figures moving in all directions, all of them leaping towards his location. After all, this was the fiendish demon battlefield. The level of space was different. No one dared to fly continuously. Xiao Chen did not need to sense it to sense that there were no blind spots. No matter where he went, he would run into people. As long as he encountered some obstruction or delay, He would be surrounded. At that time, even if he was very capable, only death would await him. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's internal injuries were severe, and he was not even 10% of his peak strength. Earlier, he had charged out of the 10,000 weapon pavilion in an incredibly dangerous manner. Then he ran into such a situation. Xiao Chen wanted to cry, but no tears came out. That beam of light really did him in. Brat, you are really incredible. To think that you dared to play with yourself so ruthlessly and still not die. This is truly a miracle. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind, making the somewhat despairing Xiao Chen rejoice. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul. The mysterious dragon seal hidden in the 9-star primal core, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul sitting cross-legged, spoke at this crucial moment. Senior, when did you wake up? When you broke through to the primal core realm, I woke up automatically. Originally, I wanted to teach you some things. When I saw you fighting for the Dao tool, I did not startle you. Your performance is pretty good. If it is not what I love, what is the use of it? A man should have the air of a man. Senior overpraises me. Does Senior have a way to quickly recover from my body's injuries? Xiao Chen asked in anticipation. If he were not injured, no one would be able to stop him from leaving this fiendish demon battlefield, if he wanted to. How did he end up in a situation where even a group of ants could surround and kill him? Ah, do you think I'm a deity? Dozens of great Dao energies intertwined. You already have the blessing of the blue dragon bloodline by not dying. Yet, you want to recover quickly? How naive. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's emotionless words immediately dashed Xiao Chen's dreams. I cannot help you recover from your injuries. However, I can help you absorb the great Dao energy in your body. However, you have to find a place to treat your injuries quickly. Don't overdo it. Otherwise, you will really end up crippled. After all, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor carried the hope of the blue dragon bloodline. He could not leave Xiao Chen to die. This was the greatest help he could offer. Alright, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor could absorb all the great Dao energies that made Xiao Chen uncomfortable, preventing him from driving his veritable essence energy. At the very least, his injuries would not worsen, and he could recover 20 to 30% of his strength. With the tyrant saber in his hand, Xiao Chen would have some hope of escaping. Whoosh! The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul moved at lightning speed. A vast suction came from the dragon seal. The dozens of great Dao energies in Xiao Chen's body flew uncontrollably to the dragon roar hidden in his primal core. Ah! Xiao Chen could not help crying out in pain. It felt like dozens of sharp knives were moving around in his body. It was not something that ordinary people could endure. Xiao Chen let out a soft cry. Then he gritted his teeth and stopped screaming. He picked up the tyrant saber in a direction with fewer people and quickly ran over. Alright, good luck to you from now on. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's weak voice came from the dragon roar. Xiao Chen immediately felt much more relaxed. At the very least, he could circulate his veritable essence energy slightly. His meridians were no longer blocked by the great Dao energy. However, the injuries to his meridians had not healed yet. So he did not dare to use his veritable essence energy rashly. If he used too much force, he might end up killing himself. Right now, his body simply could not withstand too much damage. Xiao Chen. It's really him. Is that a Dao tool? Just at this moment, 7 or 8 people appeared in front and coincidentally met with Xiao Chen. All of them showed pleasant surprise on their faces. There was one peak minor primal core cultivator, 4 middle stage minor primal core cultivators, and 3 early stage minor primal core cultivators. All of them were core disciples of rank 3 sections. With one glance, Xiao Chen figured out the other party's strength. He did not hesitate to make the first move. Kasi. The heavy tyrant saber struck the people who spoke and knocked them back, causing them to vomit blood. In one exchange, Xiao Chen tore an opening. While his companions were still stunned, he flew away. Damn. After him. Relying on the tyrant saber's sudden increase in weight and the horrifying Dao might, Xiao Chen dragged his injured body forward without stopping, charging forward. True inheritors? After clearing 5 stages, Xiao Chen's face sank. As he looked at the people blocking his way, he frowned. No matter which sect's true inheritors it was, they would not be able to obtain victory in a short time. As long as these true inheritors paused for a moment, they would be able to delay for a moment, and the large group of pursuers would immediately surround them. Dong, dong, dong. Who knew how many people had gathered behind him? However, the heavy footsteps and the trembling of the ground told Xiao Chun that danger had not left. Hand over the Dao tool, and I'll let you go. The person who arrived showed a cautious expression, not revealing any openings. He was also very careful when facing the injured Xiao Chun, not giving him any opportunities. That's impossible. The saber was the dignity of a bladesman. If one lost their dignity, what was the point of living? Xiao Chun showed a determined expression as he raised the tyrant's saber and charged forward. If there was still a chance, he would not give up. You are seeking death. When that true inheritor saw that Xiao Chun still dared to charge over, he smiled coldly and prepared to kill Xiao Chun. Wuxia. Suddenly, a white afterimage appeared behind that true inheritor. Caught off guard, a scarlet light appeared on that true inheritor's neck. In the next moment, blood spurted out, and he fell over. When the white afterimage appeared, it was the young cat-eared girl that Xiao Chun had parted ways with. Now, she suddenly appeared again. Come with me. Right after the true inheritor spoke, the young cat-eared girl turned into a white cat and ran in front, leading the way. Chapter 1703. Xiao Chun hesitated for a moment before following them. At this time, the injuries on his body could not be effectively suppressed. If this dragged on, it would only get more and more hurtful. This kitten in front of him had to believe him for once even if she didn't want to. Following behind the cat-eared young lady, Zhang Xian moved swiftly, taking many turns here and there. Surprisingly, he managed to perfectly avoid the encirclement, not running into a single enemy. Many times he even brushed shoulders with the disciples of the various sects, but in the end, he was never discovered. An hour later, the cat brought Xiao Chun to a valley where hundreds of flowers were blooming. They entered deep into the valley and stopped in front of a hot spring. The cat-eared girl reverted to her human form and looked at Xiao Chun. They probably won't be able to find this place for the time being. You should take a break. Xiao Chun was mentally fatigued. The tyrant's saber became even heavier in his hand. Thank you for saving me, the cat-eared girl said calmly. In any case, you saved me once, so I have to repay you, right? This hot spring has a miraculous healing effect. Sometimes, when I go out and get injured, I will come here to soak in it. You should quickly heal your injuries. I have tried my best to help you to this point. They will find this place sooner or later. Xiao Chun understood that while the fiendish demon battlefield was large, it was also small. The disciples who came to the fiendish demon battlefield were not elites or outstanding talents. Xiao Chun could make a rough estimate based on his location and some other conditions. There were also quite a few people proficient in tracking. If they worked together, it would not be difficult for them to track down a person. If all of them came, the cat-eared girl alone wouldn't be able to stop them. Clearly, she wouldn't be able to help him to the end. Xiao Chun was already very grateful that he was able to help him by so much time. Naturally, he had no more complaints. When the young cat-eared girl saw Xiao Chun enter the hot spring, she revealed a startled expression in her eyes. Unexpectedly, he had kicked up such a huge storm in the fiendish demon battlefield right after leaving the temple. Dao soldier. In the past 1,000 years, no one had managed to obtain a Dao tool from the 10,000 weapon pavilion, much less a peak Dao tool. Ordinary Dao tools could not possibly cause such a huge mysterious phenomenon. In the past, Dao tools had been taken away. However, none of them had been like what Xiao Chun did, shaking up the entire fiendish demon battlefield. When that peerless tyrannical aura stirred up the winds and clouds in the surroundings, every cultivator felt their hearts tremble. Who wouldn't fear such a Dao soldier? Who wouldn't be tempted after learning that Xiao Chun was seriously injured? No one. The thousands of people who entered the fiendish demon battlefield were all tempted, including the core disciples of the rank 3 sections. The weakest existences all revealed their ambitions, wondering if they could be lucky enough to secretly obtain it. Once he obtained this saber, Even if he could not use it himself, he could exchange it for the sect or trade it away. He would also be able to find a huge fortune for himself. In the past, all the cultivators who obtained a Dao tool had reached the Cloud Sea realm at the very least. 50% of the possessors of Dao tools successfully comprehended their own Dao. What more, the superior grade Dao tool in Xiao Chen's hand. The fortuitous encounter and value it represented was self-evident, and it absolutely surpassed any of the previous encounters. Perhaps choosing him was the right choice. The young cat-eared girl muttered. Then she turned into a white cat and left again. Soon, someone would find this place again. She would not be of much help if she remained here. Being able to help Xiao Chen find a place to rest temporarily was already a great help. In the hot spring, as the hot water entered Xiao Chen's body, his entire body felt extremely comfortable. The wounds on his body warmed and healed at a visible pace. Brat, this hot spring is only somewhat effective on external injuries. It is not of much help to your internal injuries. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind again, telling him the bad news. Xiao Chen replied, I can feel it. These injuries will take at least half a month to recover completely. The wounds left by those great Dao energies will be hard to treat in a short time. When Xiao Chen checked the wounds left by the various Dao tools in his body, he felt horrified. The price he paid to obtain the Tyrant Saber was truly horrifying. In the past, Xiao Chen had always used great Dao energy to attack his opponents. This time he suffered. Furthermore, it was dozens of great Dao energies. The Dao marks were hard to remove, and they were everywhere in his internal organs and meridians. Even if his injuries healed, he could not circulate his veritable essence energy as he pleased. If he used too much force, his injuries would worsen, resulting in a permanent hidden injury. Not to mention 6 stars, he could not even light up a 9-star primal core. Xiao Chen even had to continue suppressing his strength. He could circulate only half of his veritable essence energy. I can remove the Dao marks in your body. However, I will need some time. Quickly recover from your internal injuries. Leave the Dao marks to me. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's voice sounded somewhat weak, but it was heavy and forceful. Xiao Chen did not dare to delay. In reality, this was not the time to relax. 2,000 or 3,000 sect disciples were searching for Xiao Chen outside. Many cultivators with special bloodlines and good tracking skills were slowly narrowing down the search area. The people searching for Xiao Chen outside the valley were split into 3 groups. One group was the sect disciples of the Black Cave Mountain. One group was the Heavenly Shaking Mountain's Confucian scholars, and the last group was the Patala Mountain's monks. The leader of the Black Cave Mountain's many true inheritors was the Divine Firmament sect's second strongest person, Berserk Saber Liang Zimo. Since Shangguan Lei was not around, he held the highest prestige. The leader of the Heavenly Shaking Mountain's Confucian scholars was the Confucian institution's Meng Qi. For some reason, the Heavenly Shaking Mountain's Bai Yu, who was second only to Wang Yueming, did not participate. The leader of the Patala Mountain's Profound Light Temple's Zhen De was rumored to be Zhen Yuan's junior brother. The 2 of them were disciples of the Venerable Xian Bei. For hours later, the 3 groups gathered outside the valley at nearly the same time. All sorts of signs indicate that the trail of Xiao Chen's aura reached this valley and broke off. It is very likely that Xiao Chen is hiding here. The Berserk Saber Liang Zimo said softly as he looked at the valley. Frenzied Saber Liang Zimo said softly as he looked at the valley. His eyes were burning with passion. Liang Zimo had heard that the Dao tool that Xiao Chen obtained was also a saber. As a bladesman, he was even more interested in it than the others. The Confucian institution's Meng Qi hugged his sword as he looked at the valley. He said indifferently, "It looks like we all came to the same conclusion. However, this valley is rather large, and mental energy cannot probe too far into the fiendish demon battlefield. If he intends to hide from us, it will not be easy to find him." A ruthless look flashed in Liang Zimo's eyes. He smiled coldly and said, "What's so difficult about that? Bring Hua Yinfeng out." Before the strange gazes of the other Blessed Land's true inheritors, the injured Hua Yinfeng was tied up and brought to the very front. Under the temptation of the Dao tool, the Black Cave Mountain's true inheritors, who were supposed to be allies, actually attacked their own people. This was truly shocking. However, When the Confucian institution's Meng Qi thought about it, he understood. Within the Black Cave Mountain, the Divine Firmament sect and the Purple Flame sect were both rank 4 sections. They had always firmly suppressed the Purple Flame sect. If the other party obtained the Dao tool, the Divine Firmament sect would be under the greatest pressure, followed by the other sects of the Black Cave Mountain and the other 2 blessed lands. Before the temptation of a Dao tool that could change the ranking of the various major factions, what did the Verbal Alliance count for? Actually, it was reasonable for the Divine Firmament sect to do such a despicable thing. The berserk saber Liang Zimo gathered his breath and shouted ferociously, "Xiao Qun, I know that you are in there and can hear me. Your senior brother, Hua Yinfeng, is in my hands. I'll give you 10 seconds. If you do not come out, I will break one of his fingers until I chop off one of his arms." The thunder might of Liang Zimo's body rang out like thunder, echoing endlessly in the valley. Inside the hot spring, Xiaochen heard it immediately. His expression instantly changed drastically. Without thinking, he rushed out of the hot spring while holding his saber. "Brat, you have not gotten rid of even half of the Dao marks in your body. Don't be rash." The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's somewhat anxious voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. The warm spring water washed away the blood and fatigue on Xiao Chen's body. After 4 hours of recovery, his injuries had already healed significantly. The only problem was the Dao marks left in his body by the many great Dao energies. Ignoring the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's words, Xiao Chen opened his heavenly eye and zoomed in. Then he saw Hua Yinfeng, who was pushed to the ground. Damn it! As Xiao Chen held the tyrant's saber, a murderous intent leaked out of his eyes. If not for buying time for himself, how could Hua Yinfeng, and the other 2 be in such a sorry state? Chapter 1704. Inside the valley, Xiao Chen could not stop the murderous intent in his eyes. He found it hard to calm his heart or calm his anger. Possessing a Dao tool was the original sin of being hunted. Xiao Chen could only accept it. However, he could not tolerate such underhanded methods. Before coming, Hua Yinfeng had formed an alliance with the Divine Firmament sect true inheritors. "Xiao Chen, your time is up. Since you do not show yourself, don't blame me for being cruel." The Divine Firmament sect's berserk saber Liang Zimo showed a sullen expression. When he saw that there was no movement in the valley, he could not help feeling enraged. He raised his saber and prepared to chop off one of Hua Yunfeng's fingers. Hua Yunfeng's expression was unsightly, but he did not show any fear. He only thought that the ugliness of human nature was even more terrifying than he imagined. At the same time, he prayed in his heart that Xiao Chen would not come out. If Xiao Chen came out, he would definitely die. For Hua Yunfeng to become the top true inheritor of the Purple Flame sect, he was much calmer than ordinary people. This Liang Zimo looked enraged and ready to kill Xiao Chen at any moment. However, even if Liang Zimo were 100 times more courageous, he would not dare to do so. No matter what, the Purple Flame sect was a rank 4 sect. Liang Zimo could not bear the consequences of killing their top true inheritor. At most, he would just cripple one of his arms. Liang Zimo's greater purpose was to infuriate Xiao Chen and force him to show himself. This was an overt plot. Hua Yinfeng saw this more clearly than anyone else. He despised this underhanded method in his heart, and hoped that Xiao Chen could see through it. "Stop!" Holding up the tyrant's saber, Xiao Chen rushed out of the valley and looked coldly at Liang Zimo. When Xiao Chen looked around, he immediately felt a heavy weight in his heart. The true inheritors of the Heavenly Shaking Mountain and the Patala Mountain were actually gathered together. When Xiao Chen looked behind him, he saw many core disciples hiding everywhere, hoping to take advantage of the excitement. The appearance of the Dao tool attracted nearly all the disciples who came to the fiendish demon battlefield. At this moment, they all gathered outside this valley. Liang Zimo's face lit up with joy. He clapped his hands and said, "White-robed Xiao Chen, you are indeed a man. I thought that you would hide in this valley forever." Xiao Chen looked coldly at the other party. Then, his gaze landed on the 2 Divine Firmament sect disciples pressing down on Hua Yinfeng. Killing qi surged out from his gaze. This immediately caused the 2 of them to tremble in fear. For some reason, they pulled Hua Yinfeng back 2 steps. Release Hua Yinfeng. Whether you want the Dao tool or my life, everything is negotiable, Xiaochen said through clenched teeth, enunciating every word. Liang Zimo grinned. Untie him. The two true inheritors immediately loosened the ropes binding Hua Yinfeng. Liang Zimo stepped forward and grabbed Hua Yinfeng, saying, "Hand over the Dao tool. I will give him to you." The Confucian institution's Mengqi and the profound light temple's Zhenda raised their eyebrows, and their expressions changed slightly. The two seemed to have a telepathic connection. They exchanged glances and sent voice projections. To think that this Liang Zimo is using us as decorations, wanting to take the Dao tool for himself. Zhenda, what do you think? Mengqi sent a voice projection. Zhenda replied, both the Buddhist sects and the Confucian institution have very few people who use the saber. Let's work together. After we obtain this saber, we can auction it off at sea and give it to someone who truly uses the saber. After maximizing the benefits, we can split them evenly. That's what I was thinking. The two hit it off and reached a simple agreement. Whoosh! Without much thought, Xiaochen tossed the tyrant's saber in his hand at Liang Zimo. Clang! The instant the saber was tossed, the melodious sound of a treasure saber being unsheathed rang out in Xiaochen's heart, spreading throughout his entire body. It was like some sort of emotion had awakened in his body. Liang Zimo did not notice this at all. Wild joy appeared in his eyes as he caught the tyrant saber and kicked Hua Yinfeng away. Then he retreated to the protection of the Divine Firmament sect true inheritors. How heavy! However, the moment Liang Zimo caught the tyrant saber, he felt like he had caught a mountain with his bare hands. He could not react at all. After catching the tyrant saber pulled him to the ground with a plop, and he fell flat on his face. Clang! A cold light flashed in the eyes of the Confucian institution's Mengqi. He drew his sword, and a sword light shone like the red sun. Righteous qi surged out as he thrust it at Liang Zimo. The profound light temple's Zhenda leaped into the air, and swung the Buddhist staff in his hand, grasping the end. The mountain-like staff head tore through the air, giving off a terrifying howl as it smashed at Liang Zimo. Damn it! Liang Zimo brought out his will of thunder, and his entire body flickered with electric light. He cursed in his heart and used all his vital qi and veritable essence energy. Finally, he managed to stand up while holding the tyrant saber. Liang Zimo smiled coldly and grasped the saber hilt with his right hand, ready to draw it. However, when Liang Zimo pulled, he discovered that he could not draw it at all. His expression changed drastically. Pussy eye. Without giving Liang Zimo any time to react, Mengqi's sword pierced through his chest. The Buddhist staff in Zhenda's hand ruthlessly smashed Liang Zimo into the air. Before the tyrant saber could warm up, a shock wave shot out in a direction that Zhenda and Mengqi did not expect. After him, the entire place immediately turned chaotic. Everyone focused their gazes on the tyrant's saber as they flew towards it. Saber. My Dao tool. Liang Zimo lay on the ground. His hair was disheveled, and wounds covered his entire body. He appeared dispirited and dispirited. Blood leaked out of his mouth as he coughed continuously. The planned attacks of two peak true inheritors were not that easy to deal with. They immediately inflicted severe injuries on Liang Zimo. This was especially so for Zhenda's mountain-like Buddhist staff. The vast strike landed on Liang Zimo's body. All the ribs in Liang Zimo's body shattered, and his internal organs shattered. This made the wound from Mengqi's sword even more slippery. At this moment, Liang Zimo did not even have the strength to stand up. The most helpless thing was that no one cared about him. Everyone was chasing after the tyrant saber, rushing over in a frenzy. Seeing the chaotic scene, Xiaochen led Hua Yinfeng back to the valley entrance and removed the restriction on Hua Yinfeng's body. Whoosh! Hua Yinfeng heaved a long sigh. Then he sighed. I should not have shown myself. It is truly not easy for a bladesman to meet a treasured saber that suits me. This was especially so after Hua Yinfeng personally saw how much effort and price Xiaochen paid for this saber. Xiaochen smiled faintly. That saber has only one word, tyrant. However, I tried 3 times and failed to draw it. Instead, when I tossed it out earlier, it came out of its scabbard. Hua Yinfeng showed a strange expression. It came out of its scabbard? I didn't see it. Xiaochen pointed to his chest. It was here. Just earlier, I understood why I could not draw this saber. In the 10,000 weapon pavilion, I held the saber and left, abandoning senior brother Hua to flee alone. After that, I lost the feeling of being a tyrant. Even though I forcefully subdued this saber, it felt ashamed and was not willing to be used by me. The true way of the tyrant is not to show off and fight viciously, to dominate the world. Instead, it needs to have a pure heart, to value relationships and righteousness. It needs to have the pride and courage of a tyrant, and even more, the feelings and boldness of a king. Only then can it be called the way of the tyrant. Hua Yunfeng entered deep thought. Then he nodded and said, "What you said is not what I like. What is the use of it? It is the same for sabers and swords. In the past, I often read in ancient texts that some famous sabers and swords directly shattered after changing owners. In the past, I thought that was just a story. Now it looks like the rumors are true." Between this gain and loss, Xiaochen gained a lot. In the 10,000 weapon pavilion, it looked like he obtained a Dao tool. However, in reality he did not manage to subdue the tyrant saber. Holding it in his hand, aside from attracting boundless disaster, he did not gain anything. Now, while it looked like he lost the tyrant saber, he gained the tyrant saber's acknowledgement. Xiaochen had already unsheathed it in his heart. Regardless of where it was, this saber already had Xiaochen's mark on it. Suddenly, a pained grunt entered Xiaochen's ears. When he looked over, his lips curled up in a mocking smile. Hua Yunfeng followed Xiaochen's gaze, and could not help smiling. Heaven is watching what people do. This Liang Zimo sneak attacked and injured me while I was fighting with the 6 experts. Now that he ended up like this, I can only say that he deserves it. Brother Xiao, what do you plan to do next? Xiaochen's eyes were clear. He already had a plan in his heart. I'll let this situation be a little more chaotic, luring out those ambitious people. I'll treat my injuries properly and recover to my peak combat prowess. Be it Shangguanlei, Wang Yueming, the profound light temple's Zhenda, or the Black Lotus Church's holy sun hiding in the dark, they were all tigers and wolves and could not be underestimated. Using this tyrant saber to draw out all these threats was simply the best. After all, aside from Xiaochen, no one in this vast fiendish demon battlefield could draw out the tyrant saber. What was mine would still be mine in the end. Chapter 1705. The appearance of the tyrant saber incited many people to fight over it, giving Xiaochen an excellent opportunity to rest. He did not need to worry about anything else. He could focus on treating his injuries to prevent any hidden injuries that he could not get rid of in the future. Back then, Xiaochen's experience in the Kunlun realm was still fresh in his mind. Now that he was in the Great Thousand Realms, he had to be careful not to make the same mistakes as before. Martial uncle. Senior brother Hua. As the two chatted, the core disciples and true inheritors of the Purple Flame sect all rushed over. The originally anxious group of people relaxed significantly when they discovered that the two were fine. This group of people from the Divine Firmament sect is really too much. We have to take revenge for this. To think that they took advantage of senior brother Hua while he was down. After learning about Hua Yunfeng's experiences, the many true inheritors all felt aggrieved, rage burning in their hearts. Back then, at the Divine Firmament sect's thunder-controlling peak, they had agreed to form an alliance to fight the Heavenly Shaking Mountain and the Patala Mountain. To think that they used such despicable means for the sake of a Dao tool. This was simply despicable, despicable. Xiaochen smiled faintly. Of course, we have to take revenge. However, now is not the time. Now is actually the best time to search for fortuitous encounters. The disciples of the other sects are all going to fight for the Dao tool. This is an opportunity for us. Lingyu asked, feeling confused. Martial uncle, why are you not anxious at all? Right now the most important thing is to help you snatch the Dao tool back. A peak Dao tool was the greatest fortuitous encounter. All the disciples of the sect would benefit from it. There was no greater fortuitous encounter in the fiendish demon battlefield. Otherwise, the other sect disciples would not be like this. Every single one of them seemed to have gone mad, fighting to the death, and fighting to the death. Even those who were not in the mood to fight ran over to join in the excitement, trying to fish in troubled waters. Hua Yunfeng smiled mysteriously. There is no need for you to worry about this. Xiaochen has his ways. After I recover my strength, I will bring everyone to sweep through the various lands of fortuitous encounters. No matter how the others fought, they could not draw the scabbard. This tyrant saber had already recognized Xiaochen as its master, and it already bore his mark. Sooner or later, it would return to Xiaochen's hands. There was no need to worry. Many disciples were skeptical, but they were satisfied with this arrangement. With Hua Yunfeng leading the way to seek fortuitous encounters, there would definitely be a great harvest at this juncture. 1 hour later, with the aid of the medicinal pills, Hua Yunfeng's injuries healed rapidly. He led the Purple Flame sect's true inheritors and core disciples to bid farewell to Xiaochen and leave the valley. Although his injuries were terrible, his cultivation was not as terrible as Xiaochen's. With the help of the elixir, he recovered very quickly. With the help of the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor, Xiaochen continued to clear the Dao wounds left by the Dao tool in his body. His heart remained as still water, calm and unperturbed. On the other side, the fight for the Dao soldiers had completely descended into chaos and white-hot. Meng Qi and Zhenda had wanted to join forces to suppress them, but they were not strong enough. Even though the two of them had joined hands, they were still unable to dominate the scene. In the end, the two of them actually began to fight. Each of them had their own selfish motives. How could a verbal alliance last long? Damn, what a heavy saber. I can't pull it out at all. I managed to snatch it. It's mine now. Amid the chaotic crowd, the tyrant saber kept changing hands. However, no one could successfully pull it out. Instead, they ended up bringing trouble for themselves, getting surrounded and attacked. Just when it looked like there would never be a winner, a clap of thunder suddenly roared in the sky. A tyrannical, heart-stopping aura came from the distance, accompanied by the claps of thunder. Dark clouds churned in the sky, and thunder rumbled endlessly. Where are the Divine Firmament sect disciples? A loud shout rang out. The Divine Firmament sect's Shangguan Lei finally rushed over from the Forbidden Land. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky. As Shangguan Lei bathed in the lightning, he looked like an aloof war god, looking down coldly at the various sect disciples below. It's Shangguan Lei. Shangguan Lei appeared. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. The moment Shangguan Lei spoke, startled cries rang out in the chaotic crowd. The Divine Firmament sect disciples responded to Shangguan Lei's question with excitement on their faces. Senior brother Shangguan, you finally came out. This tyrant saber will definitely belong to my Divine Firmament sect. The moment Shangguan Lei landed, the Divine Firmament sect disciples crowded around him, boosting his aura. Senior brother. The many disciples respectfully greeted Shangguan Lei. When they felt the peak major primal core aura from him, the people around them all felt immense pressure. Shangguan Lei swept his gaze around, and a formless pressure spread out, forcefully silencing the 2,000-odd sect disciples present. No one dared to meet Shangguan Lei's gaze. Even the profound light temple's Zhenda and the Confucian institution's Meng Qi, who fought the fiercest earlier, avoided each other's gazes. They did not dare to clash with Shangguan Lei, feeling shocked in their hearts. How terrifying! To think that he is already a peak major primal core cultivator. Just this cultivation alone is sufficient to stand out from the crowd. How exactly did he cultivate? After reaching the major primal core realm, one's cultivation would progress extremely slowly, reaching peak major primal core. In the entire Grave Sea cluster, one would be considered an expert. After all, the sect masters of some rank 3 sects in the outside world were only at this level. However, Shangguan Lei's potential was clearly not limited to this. Furthermore, he was still so young. He would definitely reach the Cloud Sea realm in his lifetime, becoming a star venerate or even higher. Zhenda thought to himself, right now, this Shangguan Lei's aura actually looks even scarier than senior brother Zhen Yuan's. What exactly did Shangguan Lei experience in the past few days for his improvement to be so terrifying? Meng Qi felt the same way. When he compared Shangguan Lei to Wang Yueming, He felt that the originally evenly matched situation was about to be broken. Shang Guanlei was very satisfied with the reactions of the crowd. His gaze never left a disciple holding the tyrant saber. That was the top true inheritor of a rank 3 sect in the Black Cave Mountain. Under Shang Guanlei's gaze, he felt immense pressure. Sweat continuously leaked out of his forehead. Shang Guanlei recognized this person. He looked straight at the other party's bright eyes and suddenly shouted, "Ma Tianliang, are you seeking death? Why are you still not handing over the Dao tool?" Shang Guanlei's voice was like a clap of thunder, shaking people's hearts and entering Ma Tianliang's soul. It felt like a bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in Ma Tianliang's sea of consciousness. This startled Ma Tianliang into trembling, and the tyrant's saber in his hand flew out uncontrollably. Whoosh! The crowd scattered. No one dared to get close to the Dao tool lest Shang Guanlei target them. Everyone scattered, leaving behind a large, empty space where the Dao tool was. Now no one showed any interest in the item that everyone fought for earlier. They could only watch in dissatisfaction. So it is a tyrant saber. With your appearance, you think you are fit to wield this saber? When Shang Guanlei saw the ancient words on the scabbard, he revealed a mocking expression, making Ma Tianliang feel ashamed. Only I, Shang Guanlei, am fit to wield this saber. The word tyrant was deeply engraved in Shang Guanlei's heart. He showed a stern expression, exuding strong self-confidence and a tyrannical aura of thunder. No one dared to block Shang Guanlei, automatically opening a path for him. That might not be the case. Suddenly, a cool voice rang out. Wang Yueming landed, holding a folding fan. He had finally rushed over from the 10,000 flower garden. It's Senior Brother Wang. Senior Brother Wang is finally here. The people of the Confucian institution immediately became excited. The others also showed joy on their faces. Finally, someone who could suppress Shang Guanlei's limelight appeared. Wang Yueming, you dare to compete with me? Shang Guanlei shouted coldly as he looked at the descending Wang Yueming with a murderous intent in his eyes. Wang Yueming opened his folding fan and smiled faintly. Others might fear you, Shang Guanlei, but why would I, Wang Yueming, fear you? Shang Guanlei's eyes flashed. He suddenly discovered that this Wang Yueming had already reached peak major primal core realm. Wang Yueming's aura was no longer as overbearing as before. He said, "This saber is perfectly compatible with my Dao. It was born for me. Wang Yueming, what is the point of you going?" Wang Yueming said indifferently, "There is no need for you to worry about that. I have my own reasons for making a move." Interesting. Do you really think that you can compete with me just by relying on some natural treasures to advance to peak major primal core realm? Receive my saber strike. A saber appeared in Shang Guanlei's hand as he leaped into the air, sending out a saber light. The saber light flashed, turning the sky as resplendent as the sun, disappearing in a flash. Purple chi comes from the east. Wang Yueming closed the folding fan in his hand, and the righteous chi in his body turned into the rising sun, sending down strands of pure purple chi. He used his veritable essence energy and righteous chi to clash head-on with this saber strike. Kassier. A crack appeared in the folding fan, and Wang Yueming took 3 steps back. He felt his arm go numb, and his expression could not help changing drastically. How can this be? My cultivation is the same as his. Why is there such a huge difference in strength? Shang Guanlei smiled coldly. His cultivation came from mountains of corpses and seas of blood of fiendish demons. Wang Yueming relied on external items to advance. How could he compare to Shang Guanlei? An ancient loyal heart like the sun and the moon. A body of righteous chi traces the spring and autumn. After putting himself at a disadvantage with one move, Wang Yueming quickly took out the 2 lines of the poem his master left in the folding fan. The crack in the folding fan mended, and a vast righteous chi poured out. Wang Yueming's cultivation soared again, bursting out with an aura that rivaled that of a star venerate. Xiao Chen exchanged another move with Shang Guanlei, forcing back the other party, who was closing in on him. Shang Guanlei somersaulted in the air and landed, causing the ground to tremble. He looked at Wang Yueming and said, "No wonder you are confident to compete with me. However, let's see how long this broken fan of yours can help you." Shang Guanlei did not fear Wang Yueming, whose aura soared to that of a star venerate. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as the two faced off, a figure suddenly appeared, standing on a lotus flower. His figure was like a phantom, and he grasped the tyrant saber before Shang Guanlei and Wang Yueming. Tyrant saber? This was the strongest person of the three blessed lands, the profound light temple's Zhen Yuan. As he held the tyrant saber, he showed a grave expression. This saber is an inauspicious item. Although every master ruled the world, they all died under their own saber. Aside from the tyrant saber, it has another name, the saber of misfortune. This saber needs to be handed to the Buddhist sect for safekeeping. Zhen Yuan held the tyrant saber as he looked at Wang Yueming and Shang Guanlei. Shang Guanlei mocked. Do you think that I will believe your words? Stinky monk, cut the crap and hand over the saber. In the clouds, a vertical eye quietly flew away. In the valley, Xiaochen opened his forehead and sent the heavenly eye back into his forehead. Then he revealed a doubtful expression. Tyrant saber? Saber of misfortune? Chapter 1706. The Saber of Misfortune? Xiaochen stood up and muttered to himself, feeling confused. Then he asked the blood-soaked dragon emperor's remnant soul. Is there really such a saying? Do you believe it? Although the blood-soaked dragon emperor's voice in the dragon seal was weak, it still contained some disdain. Xiaochen made up his mind. In that case, this monk is here to deceive me? Naturally. I have interacted with this group of bald donkeys too much. They are always talking nonsense, acting like they are the only sober person in the world. It is just a different path. There is no need for too much explanation. However, every master of that saber did end up committing suicide. Xiaochen immediately felt speechless. After all that talk, it turned out that Zhen Yuan was telling the truth. That is indeed the case. However, that monk said something about handing it to the Buddhist sect for safekeeping was clearly selfish. Can't you tell? Furthermore, why did all the masters of the tyrant saber end up committing suicide? That is just arrogance and conceit. Their understanding of the path of an overlord is wrong. The path of an overlord is never about ruling the world alone. If one stubbornly insists on doing things their own way, wanting to trample on the entire world, not leaving others a path to survival, how could the heavens leave you a path to survival? Even if these people did not obtain the tyrant saber, they would still end up in a miserable state. Xiaochen understood. So, it is not the saber that has a problem. It is the person wielding the saber that has a problem, magnifying the flaws in their hearts. That's right. For example, that person here is called Shang Guanlei, right? I don't know which master taught him. With such a temper and character, even without the tyrant saber, he is destined to end up in a miserable state, taking the wrong path. If he happens to obtain the tyrant saber, he will definitely end up in the same state, committing suicide. Then, as the rumors spread, the reputation of the saber of misfortune will continue to spread. Do you think you can blame it on the saber? After the blood-soaked dragon emperor's explanation, Xiaochen's doubts cleared up. It was as he expected. Xiaochen had already recovered from his injuries. The three experts of the Blessed Lands had all appeared. However, there was still one person who had yet to say anything. The Black Lotus Church Holy Sun was still hiding somewhere, waiting for Xiaochen to show himself. It looked like this fellow was even more cautious than Xiaochen thought. To think that a Dao tool did not tempt him. Forget it, even if he doesn't appear, I'll have to show myself. If the Black Lotus Saint still thought that his strength was limited to the Buddha-seeking platform, then Xiaochen would teach him a harsh lesson. Set off, snatch the saber. Moving like the wind, Xiaochen executed the steps of the new fish dragon art, advancing quickly in this fiendish demon battlefield, where the spiritual energy was vast and the pressure was immense. On the other side, Shang Guanlei and Wang Yueming did not believe what the profound light temple's Zhen Yuan said. Xiaochen believed that Xiaochen had selfish motives, and just wanted to bring the Dao tool to the profound light temple. As Zhen Yuan looked at Shang Guanlei and Wang Yueming, he entered deep thought. If these two worked together, he might not be a match for them. However, it did not matter if this tyrant saber was the saber of misfortune or not. In a very short time, Shang Guanlei and Wang Yueming's strength would increase tremendously. This was not a good thing for the profound light temple, which was in competition with them. The Buddhist sects also needed incense and fame, as well as their own faction. It wasn't that he was far away from the mortal world and untainted by dust. Zhen Yuan also had a direct competitive relationship with these two. Be it public or private, he could not let the other party obtain this saber. However, it would not be easy to resolve this matter peacefully. Zhen Yuan thought for a while before saying, "I have a suggestion. I wonder if the two of you are willing to hear it." A cold light flashed in Shang Guanlei's eyes as he said, "Speak." Wang Yueming nodded, willing to hear it. "Brother Shangguan, if I give you the saber, are you sure you can block Brother Wang and I working together?" Zhen Yuan asked as he looked at Shang Guanlei. Shang Guanlei remained silent for a while. He felt unconvinced in his heart, but he still answered honestly, "I can't block it." Then Zhen Yuan looked at Wang Yueming. Wang Yueming shook his head and said, "Same." "All right, if that's the case. Since that is the case, then the three of us will make a gentleman's agreement. Whoever of the two of you can block a palm strike from me will get this saber. If you cannot block it, then it will belong to me, and the profound light temple will hold on to it." Shang Guanlei smiled coldly and said, "However, what if the two of us block it?" Zhen Yuan smiled and said, "In that case, I will withdraw from the fight for the Dao tool, and lead the disciples of the Padala mountain far away from this conflict." "Good. It is settled then. The three of us will swear an oath on the will of the dead sovereign emperor. Whoever breaks the oath will die a violent death." Wang Yueming did not even think about it before directly agreeing. No matter what, Wang Yueming felt that receiving a palm strike from Zhen Yuan would be no problem. Shang Guanlei did not hesitate either. If he could not even receive a palm strike from Zhen Yuan, then he really did not need to live anymore. "Good." Zhen Yuan revealed a faint smile. After the three agreed, they prepared to swear an oath. The others present all revealed startled expressions, wondering if Zhen Yuan had gone crazy and underestimated Shang Guanlei and Wang Yueming. The atmosphere immediately turned tense. The fight for the Dao tool, which had lasted for a long time, was finally coming to an end. Everyone knew who the Dao tool would go to in the end. Was the monk Zhen Yuan just boasting again? However, just at this moment, something strange happened. The tyrant's saber in Zhen Yuan's hand suddenly trembled uncontrollably, trying to struggle free. A vast tyrannical aura swept out from the saber scabbard. Strong winds blew in the surroundings, kicking up boundless dust. It was like there was something extremely attractive to the tyrant's saber, making it struggle for all it was worth. Even Zhen Yuan could not control it. "Come back!" A shout rang out. The tyrant's saber flew out with a whoosh, heading for the owner of the voice. The expressions of Zhen Yuan and the other two, who had finished discussing and were preparing to snatch the tyrant's saber, changed drastically. They did not know what happened. Whoosh! 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 The three soared into the air and chased after the tyrant's saber. However, halfway through the chase, they suddenly discovered a white figure standing on a small hill in front. This person stretched out his hand and firmly grasped the tyrant's saber. Xiaochen. As Xiaochen looked at the three people who had been chasing him, he admired the interesting expressions on their faces. Xiaochen could not help smiling. "I say, the three of you are trying to decide who this saber belongs to in public. Have you asked the original owner?" Shang Guanlei's face sank. "I was wondering who snatched this saber. So it is you. I was just wondering where to look for you. Now you deliver yourself to me." Before Shang Guanlei finished speaking, a saber appeared in his hand. Then he used instant flash to charge at Xiaochen. Wang Yueming entered deep thought. He gently closed the folding fan in his hand, not attacking rashly. On the other hand, Zhen Yuan's expression was the most interesting. His plan looked like it would succeed. Unexpectedly, it failed in the next moment. Anyone would feel upset and depressed at such a feeling. Fortunately, Zhen Yuan came from the Buddhist sect and possessed a stronger mental state than ordinary people, so he quickly calmed down. Seeing Shang Guanlei charge over, Xiaochen's face sank. Without even thinking, he placed his hand on the saber hilt. In the next moment he drew the saber. When the saber was drawn by 1 centimeter, a bright saber light tore through the sky like a bolt of lightning. Boom! Thunder roared in the sky. Two different Great Dao rings immediately appeared behind Xiaochen. One was the Thunder Great Dao, and the other was Xiaochen's Saber Great Dao. The two intertwined and merged. When the Saber Dao and the Thunder Dao worked together with Xiaochen's Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, it was simply a perfect fusion. Shang Guanlei's expression turned grave. He no longer dared to hold back. He roared, "Purple Thunder 7 strikes." As Shang Guanlei's saber descended from the air, he hacked down 7 times in a row. Every time he did so, he would attract a bolt of thunder that shook the heavens. The thunder rumbled, causing the ground to tremble. Rumble. After the 3 saber strikes, the world felt like only majestic thunder remained. The sky changed color, and thunderclouds churned. The air turned dry. As the saber in Shang Guanlei's hand absorbed more and more lightning, it turned bright and piercing, looking like the blazing sun. Every saber strike drove boundless lightning-attributed energy. Every saber strike was Shang Guanlei's peak strike. However, every time he attacked, it would surpass the previous peak. When Shang Guanlei's saber descended, 7 peak-level lightning strikes layered over each other. The saber strike landed. When Shang Guanlei's saber landed, a thick bolt of lightning descended from the sky and attached itself to the saber. Before this terrifying saber strike landed, it pressed down on the slope under Xiaochen's feet, causing it to sink in, resolving the mundane. After drawing the tyrant saber, Xiaochen did not hold back, either. The other party's Purple Thunder 7 strikes could threaten a Star Venerate level existence. If Xiaochen got careless, even with the tyrant saber, he would still be the one defeated. A swastika appeared on Xiaochen's forehead. At this instant, his expression no longer showed any humanity. Surpassing the mundane, the 7 emotions and 6 desires no longer existed. Resolving the mundane, achieving eternity. The tyrant saber showed neither joy nor sorrow. It was like an iron-faced Buddha that saw through the fickleness of the world as it swung down. A tall Kasayapa Buddha image appeared behind Xiaochen. As he swung his saber, he drew his Buddhist monk's saber and mercilessly swung it. It was clearly a Buddha, but it did not contain any gentle or warm Buddhist intent. This was different from any Buddhist sect martial technique. This was the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. Shang Guanlei, who was fighting with Xiaochen, felt a sense of guilt in his heart for committing a great sin. Even the benevolent Buddha was heartless to him, killing him. He could not help feeling horrified, and a weak opening appeared in his mental state. When the 2 sabers clashed, this weak opening widened with the clash of the 2 powerful martial techniques. Kasie. A melodious clang rang out, and the treasure tool in Shang Guanlei's hand broke. Blood leaked out of a corner of Shang Guanlei's mouth. The instant his saber broke, his aura plummeted. Then Xiaochen's 2-layered Dao knocked him back. As Shang Guanlei stood firmly on the ground and looked at the broken saber in his hand, his expression turned extremely unsightly. There was even a terrifying saber wound on his chest. This saber strike had chopped through the bones and flesh of his chest in one breath, nearly chopping him in half. However, no blood spurted out. This was because the saber intent was too tyrannical. It remained in the gap, blocking the recovery of the wound and preventing blood from spurting out. Plop! Shang Guanlei cried out silently in pain. Then he fell to the ground and fainted. As for Xiaochen, his arm was already numb, and his palm had cracked. The bones in his right hand, which held the saber, cracked in the instant they clashed. If he had lasted any longer, his entire arm would have been crippled. Clang! Xiaochen sheathed his saber and said with a cold expression, "This is my Xiaochen's saber. Aside from me, no one else has the right to decide its fate. Not even you, Zhen Yuan." Xiaochen looked around and fixed his gaze on Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan was raring to go. Clearly, he wanted to take this opportunity to attack. Chapter 1707. A huge battle could break out at any moment. As Xiaochen held up the tyrant's saber, he did not show any intention of explaining. Sometimes, many people just needed an excuse. An excuse that they could use to deal with others. An excuse that they could use to their advantage. Given Wang Yueming and Jin Yuan's experience, It was impossible for them not to see that the black lotus that suddenly appeared on Xiao Chen's body was very strange. Just this point and the confession of a new profound light temple disciple could not prove that Xiao Chen was a Black Lotus church member. However, that did not matter. Wang Yueming could use this favorable excuse to snatch away the Dao tool. To him this was the best. He could use this excuse to get Zhen Yuan to interrogate Xiao Chun and force out the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques saber manual. This would not arouse any suspicion. Zhen Yuan only said that he could use any means to pry out a Black Lotus Church disciple's confession. As for whether Xiao Chen was a Black Lotus Church disciple or not, it was not that important. Xiao Chen's heart was as clear as a mirror. When he saw Zhen Yuan hypocritically ask him if he wanted to explain, he directly rejected it. Zhen Yuan clearly saw that Xiao Chen's identity as a Black Lotus Church member was suspicious. Yet he kept pressing him, putting on a hypocritical act to get him to explain. The more Xiao Chen tried to explain, the more he would appear guilty. It would not be useful. This was because Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan already firmly believed that Xiao Chen was a Black Lotus Church member. How could they really listen to his explanation? Hypocrite, fake monk, and scheming? Xiao Chen did not believe that the two of them were willing to risk their lives and dare to take a step forward. When Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan saw Xiao Chen pressing forward with an indomitable will, showing that he would rather die in glory than live in dishonor, they showed grave expressions, no longer as overbearing as before. They did not dare to take a step forward where the saber pointed. That was the line of life and death that Xiao Chen set. Brother Zhen Yuan, you are not just slightly stronger than me. Furthermore, this fellow is a sworn enemy of your Buddhist sect. I am willing to cooperate with you. Wang Yueming stared at Xiao Chen, looking for openings. At the same time, he sent a voice projection to praise Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan locked on to Xiao Chen. When he heard that, he could not help smiling coldly. Indeed, Zhen Yuan did not fear Xiao Chen. If there were no one here, he would have charged forward without any fear. However, there were too many people here. Furthermore, Wang Yueming was here. How could he take the risk? Even if Xiao Chen defeated Xiao Chen, he would end up helping Wang Yueming. How could he be careless? This Wang Yueming's calculations were really good. Naturally, Zhen Yuan would not fall for this trick and suffer. He replied, "Let's attack together. He cannot injure both of us with one move. He can only injure one of us at the same time, and then he will be crippled." Wang Yueming said coldly, "I don't like to gamble. If it were me, I would definitely use this move on someone weaker." Behind them, the Black Lotus sect Holy Son, who had been smiling with a smug look in his eyes, suddenly showed a grave expression. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen's aura stunned the two strongest outstanding talents of the Grave Sea. This is indeed a small place. It cannot compare to people who have experienced countless life and death situations. No matter how strong they are, even with such boldness, they are just trash in the end. They are not even comparable to the unconscious Shangguan Lei. Ming Xian snorted coldly in his heart, showing deep disdain and contempt for Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming. In Ming Xian's opinion, if these two had Shangguan Lei's boldness, they would have taken down this Xiao Chen long ago. There was no need to put in so much effort. In the end, he still had to make a move. Black Lotus secret technique, world eliminating imprint. Exterminating all life. Xiao Chen held his index and middle fingers together and formed a hand seal with one hand. The string of seemingly black Buddhist prayer beads dangled between his two fingers. Without any movement, he ferociously pushed it forward. Boom. A force equal to a Cloud Sea Star Venerate's casual strike appeared out of nowhere. Caught off guard, Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming did not have time to turn around by the time they sensed it. A force equal to a star Venerate's, containing the will of soul, surged over like a wave. The force immediately knocked Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming into the air, their bodies in intense pain like they were falling apart. Their souls trembled, and they felt dizzy. The world spun around, and their souls swayed in their bodies. After they fell to the ground, they could not get up. His body and soul were both heavily injured by this attack. It was like a star Venerate attacking. Caught off guard, the two were instantly injured to the point where they could not continue fighting. This was especially so for the Confucian institution's Wang Yueming. His physical body was not as strong as Zhen Yuan's. Intense pain covered his entire body, making it hard for him to even turn around. The scarier thing was that the shock to his soul could not recover in a short time. Zhen Yuan's indestructible iron body blocked out half of the damage from this move. His physical injuries were much lighter than Wang Yueming's. However, the damage to his soul made him feel incredible pain. He barely managed to get up, and revealed an extremely shocked expression as he looked at the Black Lotus sect Holy Sun. However, that was all. Right now, Zhen Yuan could not deal any damage to the Holy Sun Mingxian. As for Wang Yueming, he was still in so much pain that he could not even raise his head to look up. 2 pieces of trash. The Holy Sun Mingxian said with deep disdain. Then his figure soared into the air and charged towards Xiao Chun, who had just dealt with the shock waves, without hesitation. This time you won't be as lucky as last time. The Black Lotus Church sage no longer held back, unleashing his full power. The Holy Sun Mingxian's entire body radiated a terrifying black Buddhist light. An expressionless, cold black Buddha image appeared behind him. The Black Lotus Church also believed in Buddhism. However, their interpretation of the ancient Buddhist scriptures differed from the orthodox ones. The Buddha they believed in was the same as the orthodox Buddhism, the Kasyapa Buddha. But in their eyes, the true body of the Kasyapa Buddha was like this. He was expressionless and cold, looking down on all life. He was known as the revered Black Lotus. Humans are born evil, and their 7 emotions and 6 desires are all sins. Kasyapa Buddha had no compassion. Those who believed in him could reduce their sins and enjoy reincarnation. Those who didn't believe in him were willing to fall into depravity. Their sins would reach the heavens, and they would never be able to reincarnate. The appearance of the Black Buddhist voice immediately exposed the Holy Sun Mingxian's identity. This was a result that no one could have imagined. Who could have imagined that Mingxian, who righteously pointed at Xiao Chun and said that he was a pawn of the Black Lotus Church, was the true Black Lotus Church disciple? However, it was too late. Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan were severely injured. The others were not strong enough, unable to interfere in the battle between the Holy Sun Mingxian and Xiao Chun. They could only watch from afar. Xiao Chun possessed 2 kinds of great Dao energy, the Thunder Dao and the Saber Dao. Then he used the army-breaking saber technique to fight the Holy Sun Mingxian. The army-breaking saber technique focused on pressing forward with indomitable will, which was similar to the Tyrant Saber. The Tyrant Saber contained the Thunder Dao. However, the tyrannical nature of the Tyrant Saber would not change. It could strengthen the aura of the Thunder Dao. Similarly, it could strengthen the compatible army-breaking saber technique. As Xiao Chun faced the mysterious and strong Black Lotus Church sage, he remained calm. Previously, due to his cultivation being limited, he could not clash head-on with the other party. Now that he obtained the Tyrant Saber, it was the right time. The other party's identity was exposed, and Xiao Chun held the home ground. He had the geographical advantage, and his cultivation broke through. The right time, the right place, and the right people. All 3 were present. He could clash head-on with the other party. Xiao Chun brought out the techniques of the Saber Dao to the fullest. Back at the Buddha-seeking platform, the other party had dared to rely on his cultivation and physical body to look down on Xiao Chun's attacks. Now the other party no longer dared to be so careless. After exchanging 100 moves to his heart's content, the Holy Sun Mingxian was shocked to discover that he did not hold the upper hand at all. That's all you are capable of? Black Lotus Church Sage, you are only a Xiao Chun raised his saber and switched from defense to offense. He roared, sounding like a dragon roaring in the surroundings and like thunder shaking the 9 heavens. The Tyrant Saber in Xiao Chun's hand merged 2 kinds of great Dao energy as he executed army breaking. With the Tyrant Saber in hand, its surging aura seemed solid. With a gentle raise, it was like a tyrant appeared, ruling over the world. One saber strike could destroy an army, piercing through the 9 heavens above the clouds. The Holy Sun Mingxian frowned slightly. He could not forcefully attack, and his momentum had already weakened. Now was not the best time to clash head-on with Xiao Chun. With a thought, the Holy Sun Mingxian thought of a plan and quickly retreated. Break! Xiao Chun leaped into the air, gaining the upper hand in his aura. His expression turned grave and stern as he smoothly executed army breaking. The previous saber strike pierced through the clouds, and stars appeared in the sky. Bathed in the brightest starlight, the saber light piercing the eyes. Then Xiaochen continued advancing. The holy sun Mingxian landed on the ground. As he held the Buddhist prayer beads in his hand, he calmly executed hand seals and knocked away the saber light and saber might attacking him. Black lotuses appeared under Xiaochen's feet. With every step he took, a lotus bloomed. Xiaochen advanced ferociously, materializing his flawless saber Dao to its limits. The saber light in his hand flashed continuously. It was like the starlight, like the moon setting, like the sun rising, like the cold winter snow, like the warm spring light, like the merciless autumn wind. The tyrant saber in Xiaochen's hand changed continuously. However, it was connected smoothly, like he was telling a story. This exquisite saber skill stunned the various sect disciples in the surroundings. All of them sighed in amazement as if he was a celestial being. When Zhen Yuan, who barely managed to sit up and treat his injuries, saw this scene, he stopped his cultivation technique and was stunned. Just based on this saber skill, Xiaochen was qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as Zhen Yuan. No wonder back then, when Xiaochen pointed his saber at Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming felt like there was a line between life and death. Indeed, Xiaochen had the strength to make those who crossed that line pay a heavy price. Death was not excluded. What Zhen Yuan said was not a joke. When the holy sun Mingxian faced this exquisite saber skill, he could always resolve it. His strength was truly admirable. If it were them, how could they make out so many of Xiaochen's saber skills? However, in the end, Xiaochen's saber skills were stronger than the holy sun Mingxian's palm technique. After 300 moves, Xiaochen finally found a major opening, causing the holy sun Mingxian's expression to change drastically. Breaking the world. Relying on the aura from the 300 moves, Xiaochen used breaking the world to find an opening and hacked at the holy sun Mingxian. The holy sun Mingxian could no longer retreat. He formed another dermic hand seal, and scriptures echoed in the surroundings. Then he stretched out his hand and gently raised it. The scriptures gathered, and the space around him continuously rose, becoming like a Buddhist spiritual mountain. The saber light tore through the layers of barriers. The two Dao might merged and tore a hole in the holy sun Mingxian's tight defense. The tyrant saber chopped at the holy sun Mingxian's shoulder, trying to chop him in half. This scene was similar to when Xiaochen first fought with the holy sun Mingxian. By feigning weakness, the holy sun Mingxian severely injured Xiaochen with one strike. Would the same result happen again? Whoosh! Just as the tyrant saber was about to strike the holy sun Mingxian, the black lotus sect's Buddha image in the sky suddenly shrank. Then, it shrank and gathered on the holy sun Mingxian's body. The holy sun Mingxian's physical body immediately changed, becoming like a black sculpture. Xiaochen's tyrant saber landed on the holy sun Mingxian's shoulder. Crack! Crack! Cracks appeared on the black sculpture, which quickly peeled off, revealing the black lotus sect's true appearance. The broken statue had negated most of the saber's power. When the saber landed again, it could only enter by 1 centimeter, stuck by the holy sun Mingxian's shoulder. History repeated itself. The holy sun Mingxian vomited a mouthful of blood. This time, the force of the saber strike was much stronger than before. Even though the holy sun Mingxian blocked most of it, he could not avoid sustaining significant injuries. The holy sun Mingxian's complexion paled, but he smiled widely. You fell for the same trick twice. Xiaochen, you are really stupid. Soul-destroying eye. The holy sun Mingxian's forehead opened, and a vertical eye appeared. The vertical eye flickered with a sinister light, giving off a soul-trembling aura. Now the holy sun Mingxian's meticulous plan finally started to pull in the net. He used the soul-destroying eye, a powerful killing move, to severely injure Xiaochen's soul. Is that so? In that case you will be disappointed. Dragon blood soul breaking finger. Just as the sinister light gathered in the vertical eye and looked like it would shoot out, a scarlet light appeared on Xiaochen's left index finger as he moved at lightning speed, tapping the holy sun Mingxian's forehead. Before the holy sun Mingxian could execute the soul-destroying eye, He cried out in pain as Xiao Chen's finger knocked him into the air. The Holy Sun Mingxian was not the only one who could set up a trap when two experts met. Chapter 1708. Dragon Blood Soul Breaking Finger. Xiao Chen moved later but arrived first, sending the Holy Sun Mingxian flying with a finger strike. After the Holy Sun Mingxian landed, his pale complexion turned even more unsightly. The might of the soul-destroying eye rebounded, and the Dragon Blood Soul Breaking Finger detonated in the depths of his soul. He felt like his soul was about to scatter, his physical body and soul slowly separating. The Holy Sun Mingxian's thoughts slowly blurred. At the critical moment, he crushed the Buddhist prayer beads in his hand. After Xiao Chen's attack succeeded, he did not hesitate to swing the saber in his hand. Electric light spread out, and the tyrant saber suddenly descended like a bolt of lightning, carrying unparalleled force as it stabbed into the Holy Sun Mingxian's chest. Boom! The Holy Sun Mingxian, who had just crushed the Buddhist prayer beads, was already in a life-and-death situation. Before he could do anything, the tyrant saber struck him. There was a loud sound, and the energy in the tyrant saber exploded. Boundless electric light burst out from that area, kicking up a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, only a charred body remained, devoid of any aura of life. Xiao Chen still did not feel assured. He leaped into the air and withdrew the tyrant saber. Then he stomped down. Their charred bodies were like brittle bones. Crunching noises could be heard as they were stepped on. It was a complete mess. This fellow died just like that? Xiao Chen looked at the charred ground. The Holy Sun Mingxian's corpse had already turned into a pile of mush. Xiao Chen was in some disbelief. However, whether he believed it or not, there was nothing he could do. He could not find any trace of the other party at all. Xiao Chen also felt incredibly fatigued. His entire body felt weak, and cold sweat trickled down his back. He had won this battle by a hair's breadth. If not for the other party being careless and trying to use tricks to defeat him, Xiao Chen would not have expected the other party to have a Soul Dao martial technique as well. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen also had a Soul Dao martial technique. Even so, he ended up falling for it. Even so, it was hard to say who would win. Even so, Xiao Chen's victory was not easy. Everyone saw exquisite saber techniques, ever-changing saber moves that flowed like clouds and water. These were not moves that could be executed easily, and without using one's brain. They exhausted a large amount of veritable essence energy and mental energy. Xiao Chen glanced coldly at Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming. The Holy Sun Mingxian's sneak attack on these two was very miserable. Caught off guard, they were struck by the world-eliminating imprint. It was not a good feeling. Back then, Xiao Chen had tried to defend, and the Black Lotus Church sage had held back. Even so, he had been heavily injured by the World Annihilation Seal. Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan had faced the sneak attack of the World Annihilation Seal at full power. One could well imagine the severity of their injuries. Serves him right for bringing this upon himself. Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. Then, without even looking at the two, he picked up the tyrant's saber and fled far away. Zhen Yuan's expression sank. He, who had been recovering rapidly, could already stand up with great difficulty. The injuries to his physical body had mostly recovered. However, the injuries to his soul could not be healed in a short time. His complexion was still unsightly. He could only watch as Xiao Chen calmly left after the great battle. From then on, one of the Blessed Enclave's 3 great experts fainted. Another fell to the ground and couldn't get up, and the last one couldn't fight even if he got up. This solution was directly or indirectly related to Xiao Chen. Who was the greatest dark horse in this fiendish demon battlefield? It was definitely Xiao Chen. After this, the name of the white-robed Xiao Chen would spread far and wide, spreading throughout the entire Grave Sea. 3 days later, an irresistible will appeared and forcibly dragged the recuperating Xiao Chen out of the fiendish demon battlefield. After defeating the Black Lotus Church sage, no one sought trouble for him. Xiao Chen obtained the Dao tool, the Buddha-seeking platform, the many rare Buddhist sect plants, and the precious earthen fire golden lotus. Xiao Chen was not in the mood to seek out other fortuitous encounters. He spent the next 3 days treating his injuries. He made sure not to leave any hidden injuries. Then, he quietly waited for time to run out. After 3 days, Xiaochen completely recovered from his injuries and returned to his peak. Be it his physique, physical body, or spirit, they all reached an unprecedented height. Defeating Shangguanlei and the Black Lotus Church Holy Sun invisibly increased Xiaochen's aura and luck. After leaving the fiendish demon battlefield, Xiaochen turned his head back to look. The floating island slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. The next opening of the fiendish demon battlefield would be another 20 years later. This trip was pretty good. I managed to scavenge some resources, enough for me to advance my cultivation in advance. Everyone more or less gained something as they discussed excitedly. Martial Uncle, congratulations on obtaining the Dao tool. In this fiendish demon battlefield, Martial Grand Uncle really brought glory to our Purple Flame sect. Haha. Even Shangguanlei lost to our Martial Grand Uncle. The Purple Flame sect disciples in the crowd quickly flew over to Xiaochen's side and congratulated him. Hua Yunfeng arrived late. He glanced at Xiaochen and smiled sincerely. I am truly ashamed of my inferiority in this fiendish demon battlefield. I am truly sorry for not fulfilling my responsibilities as the top true inheritor. Later, Hua Yunfeng heard that Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan made things difficult for Xiaochen, while he led his disciples to take advantage of the situation to scavenge resources. Hua Yunfeng felt somewhat apologetic. Fortunately, Xiaochen managed to leave in the end. Furthermore, he defeated Shangguanlei and the Black Lotus Church Holy Sun. Xiaochen said quickly, Brother Hua, you are too polite. Without your help, it would have been impossible for me to obtain the Dao tool. No matter what, I will definitely remember this favor. After saying that, Xiaochen took out all the rare Buddhist sect flowers and herbs he obtained on Buddha-seeking mountain, aside from the earthly fire golden lotus. Among them, the 20 white jasmine flowers were the most precious. They were one of the Buddhist sect's 5 trees and 6 flowers. They could directly increase one's cultivation and cleanse one's veritable essence energy. There was no market for them in the outside world. One could not buy them even if one wanted to. They were so expensive that one would find them unbearably heavy. Hua Yunfeng had not expected Xiaochen to be so generous, spending money to such an extent. He simply treated the white jasmine flowers like cabbages. I simply cannot reject the white jasmine flowers. I will take 5 and give the rest to the sect disciples. Everyone will gain something. Hua Yunfeng did not try to be pretentious. Right after he spoke, the many Purple Flame sect disciples all smiled. Many thanks, Martial Grand Uncle. Many thanks, Senior Brother Hua. On this side, the Purple Flame sect disciples were all incredibly happy. They had already gained a lot in the first place. Now they even received such a huge gift. Who would not be happy? On the other side, the disciples of the Divine Firmament sect, the Confucian Institution, and the Patala Mountain showed unsightly expressions. Benefactor Xiao, we offended you in the fiendish demon battlefield. In the future, we will definitely pay you a visit to apologize. Zhen Yuan led the Profound Light Temple disciples over and bowed in greeting. Before Xiaochen could say anything, Hua Yunfeng's expression turned serious. He said, Zhen Yuan, you are really bold. Brother Xiao is my Purple Flame sect's senior Yi Zifeng's junior brother. He is the Spring Snow Bladesman Pan Huang's disciple. To think that you wrongly accused him of being a Black Lotus Church disciple. I will personally speak to the sect master about this. The moment Hua Yunfeng said that, he immediately caused a huge commotion. The expressions of the various sect disciples as they looked at Xiaochen changed drastically. To think that he is Pan Huang's disciple. This was truly unexpected. Zhen Yuan was strong and held a high position. However, in the fiendish demon battlefield, Zhen Yuan publicly attacked Xiaochen and threatened to clean up the heretics. That was a grave mistake. The more serious thing was that the one who framed him was a Black Lotus Church disciple. That was even worse. When Zhen Yuan returned to the temple, he would not be able to avoid punishment. Zhen Yuan's expression changed slightly. He felt very sullen in his heart, but he endured it. He said softly, This time, I was tricked by a demon. I will definitely take responsibility. After I return to the temple, I will take the initiative to ask for punishment. I will definitely give benefactor a satisfactory apology for the trouble I caused this time. Goodbye. Zhen Yuan did not want to apologize in his heart. However, he had no choice. The Buddhist sect's rules were the strictest. Unless Zhen Yuan gave up on his Buddhist sect martial techniques and left the Profound Light Temple, he would have to apologize and put on a show so that the Profound Light Temple could provide an explanation to the Purple Flame sect. As Xiaochen watched the other party leave, he thought to himself, this Zhen Yuan is really tolerant. In the fiendish demon battlefield, he was clearly very unlucky. However, when he came out, he could swallow his anger and apologize. I cannot underestimate this person. I have to pay attention to him in the future. As Hua Yunfeng watched Zhen Yuan leave, he said to Xiaochen, don't worry. Sects have their own rules. This Zhen Yuan made a huge mistake. When he returns to the temple, he will definitely be punished. My Purple Flame sect can at least do that for you. Based on Hua Yunfeng's tone, he did not intend to let this matter rest. Xiaochen could only repeat this in his heart. The evils he brought upon himself were the hardest to bear. Xiaochen. As the two chatted casually and prepared to rush back to the sect, a resonant voice rang out. It was Shangguan Lei, who had mostly recovered from his injuries. Aside from Zhen Yuan, the person who was the most sullen in the fiendish demon battlefield was Shangguan Lei. After forcefully advancing to peak Major Primal Core Realm, he did not show off for long before Xiaochen knocked him unconscious with one saber strike, losing all his reputation. Given Shangguan Lei's character, this matter dealt an even heavier blow to him than killing him. Shangguan Lei looked at Xiaochen with dissatisfaction. Then he said coldly, you merely used the might of a Dao tool to defeat me by half a move. Do you have the guts to put down your Dao tool and fight me again? Right here, in front of everyone, let's have a fair fight. A sore loser was a perfect description for people like Shangguan Lei. Shangguan Lei's words were funny and infuriating at the same time. After Xiaochen heard that, he could not help feeling speechless. Then he said indifferently, sure. Lower your cultivation to peak Minor Primal Core Realm, and I'll have a fair fight with you. Shangguan Lei roared, coward. My cultivation was tempered step by step through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Your cultivation is not high, and you did not work hard. Can you blame me for having a high cultivation? Interesting. Could it be that my Dao tool fell from the sky? Xiaochen could not help smiling coldly in his heart. He said seriously, I did indeed rely on a Dao tool to defeat you. However, so what? Just like your cultivation tempered step by step through mountains of corpses and seas of blood, I barely managed to subdue this Dao tool of mine. If you are not convinced, you can go and find a Dao tool. I'll keep you company at any time. Don't humiliate yourself here, and make a fool of yourself. Weapons and armor have always been a part of a cultivator's strength. Shangguan Lei was originally filled with resentment. Now that Xiaochen's rude words added fuel to the fire, he became even angrier. However, Xiaochen now had a Dao tool. He was not a match for Shangguan Lei at all, and he could not do anything about it. Good, good, good. Shangguan Lei was so angry that his entire body trembled. After saying good 3 times, he flicked his sleeves and left. The Purple Flame sect disciples watched as Shangguan Lei, who was normally unparalleled in the Black Cave Mountain, left in such a sullen manner. All of them felt delighted in their hearts. Hua Yunfeng smiled and said, unexpectedly, Shangguan Lei has such a day. Haha. Come, let's return to the sect. Chapter 1709. Xiaochen did not dare to tarry. After he took his leave of the group, he quickly headed for the summit. Right now, the most important thing was to raise his strength and properly digest the fortuitous encounters he obtained in the fiendish demon battlefield. It turns out that there really is a Tianwu dynasty in the central Great Realm. Xiaochen could not help but recall the descendant of the Kunlun realm's Tianwu dynasty, Chu Chaoyan. The Tianwu dynasty. It was extremely rare for the sect master to personally receive a disciple returning from the fiendish demon battlefield. Xiaochen's senior brother got injured because of him. Now that he could profit from this disaster, it was simply great. Where are we going? The instant the Black Lotus formed, the Black Lotus Church Holy Sun appeared in it, panting heavily. His complexion looked extremely weak. However, senior brother, your injuries. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. Yi Zifeng had fought with the Black Lotus Church Venerate and got injured, causing his cultivation to drop by 1 grade. The Tyrant Saber is a Dao tool that I obtained in the 10,000 Weapon Pavilion. What should I do? Xiao Chun asked sincerely. How dangerous? I nearly died in this fiendish demon battlefield. When the Purple Flame Sect's sect master received the news, he personally led the sect elders to the foot of the mountain to welcome Xiao Chen's group. Xiao Chen nodded silently. However, great waves surged in his heart. He was incredibly shocked. After Yi Zifeng's pointers, Xiao Chen seemed to have comprehended something and thought of something. This was a huge blow to the Divine Firmament sect. This was especially so for defeating Shangguan Lei. To the Purple Flame sect, this was a joyous matter. After chatting for a while, just as they were about to take their leave, Xiao Chen asked, Senior brother, if I want to go to the Central Great Realm to look for you in the future, where should I go? In the following days, Xiao Chen was very busy, familiarizing himself with the Tyrant Saber in his hand. Next was his cultivation. He needed to temper it properly to stabilize his current cultivation. Whoosh. Perhaps it was to seek refuge, to explore, or just out of pure boredom. When Xiao Chen heard that, he found it slightly strange. This was because his senior brother did not seem to crave power. The feeling he gave was one of indifference and lack of desire. Yi Zifeng did not find Xiao Chen's expression strange. You have never seen a true saber expert before. The Grave Sea cluster ranks within the top 100 of the mini clusters of the Great Thousand Realms. However, compared to the Central Great Realm, it is not even worth mentioning. There is not a single saber expert of the same generation as you. Xiao Chen cupped his fists and said, Sect leader Duan is too kind. One's luck waned while the other grew. For a long time, the Divine Firmament sect had suppressed the Purple Flame sect to the point of suffocation. After this, the situation would definitely change. After a long time, the Black Lotus carried him into the sky, flying towards the starry sky. He had to return to the Black Lotus to recuperate. As a complete saber technique, the army-breaking saber technique was more suitable for the Tyrant Saber. Hearing this, Yi Zifeng was stunned. The Central Great Realm's 4 eternal dynasties were established by the Great Desolate Bloodline noble clans to resist the sections. The Tianwu dynasty was established by the ancient royal clan, the Chu clan. There is no need for you to ask about this. In the future, when you go to the Central Great Realm, you will know about it. Yi Zifeng had been waiting for a long time. Seeing him arrive, he raised his head slightly and gestured for him to sit down. A sharp light flashed in the Black Lotus Holy Sun's eyes as Xiao Chen's figure appeared in his mind. He wished that he could tear Xiao Chen to shreds and take out the demonic bone relic. Flashy but impractical? Xiao Chen was slightly surprised. This was the first time he heard someone say that his saber skills were flashy but impractical. Xiao Chen used this saber to materialize the various saber techniques that he knew. Among them, the army-breaking saber technique was the main one, with the flawless saber technique as support. The sect leader of the Purple Flame sect was called Duanya. He was an old man dressed in gray. His aura was withdrawn, causing others to be unable to see through him. Yi Zifeng said honestly, Originally, I should not have come looking for you when you just returned from the fiendish demon battlefield. However, I need to now. I'll be leaving the Purple Flame sect tomorrow. Yi Zifeng smiled faintly as he emitted a trace of his aura. There were also some things that Xiao Chen could not do in the past, because he was not strong enough. Now that he had advanced to the Primal Core realm, he could try them. The Chu clan. Chu Chaoyan. It looks like this is not a coincidence. The army-breaking saber technique that Xiao Chen practiced was modified from their 1000 army sword technique. Now it was a completely different martial technique. It had to be said that this was a pleasant surprise. Yi Zifeng continued, I'm leaving tomorrow. So if you have any requests, you can tell me now. If I can help, senior brother will do his best. Duanya did not say anything more. He smiled and said, You go first. Martial uncle has been waiting for you for a long time already. Later, I'll discuss with the elders how to reward you. Shaking his head, Xiao Chen stopped thinking about this. Senior brother is looking for me? However, Xiaochen knew that this sect leader had been a late-stage Starry Sky Realm cultivator for many years, and was exceptionally strong. Senior brother, who established the Tianwu dynasty? Xiaochen asked. However, since Yi Zifeng said this, it clearly made sense and would not be without evidence. Purple Flame Sect. Yi Zifeng returned the saber to Xiaochen. Then he entered deep thought and said, "Your attainments in the saber technique are very deep. However, it gives me the feeling that it is flashy but impractical." When Xiaochen heard that, he felt stunned. These words were too familiar. Xiaochen had fallen from Holy Venerate to Peak Star Venerate. Just after Xiaochen, Hua Yinfeng, and the others returned to the sect, Xiaochen did not know where Chu Chaoyan was. Aside from the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva, Xiaochen and Chu Chaoyan had left the Kunlun realm, the central great realm. After a pause, Yi Zifeng continued. "Your saber technique is exquisite, and your comprehension ability is startling. However, when you draw your saber, it does not feel heavy or steady." Yi Zifeng did not know why he made such a change. Xiaochen asked probingly, "Senior brother, why are you going to the central great realm? Why is senior brother in such a rush to find me?" Xiaochen asked in a rush. Xiaochen stepped forward and handed the tyrant saber to Yi Zifeng with both hands. Yi Zifeng calmly said 4 words. "If what senior brother said is true, then the Tianwu emperor who established the Tianwu dynasty in the Sky Dome realm must have been an expert of the central great realm's Chu clan. The upper echelon of the Divine Shield Army probably could not tell." On the calm surface of the sea, there were bursts of bubbling. The Black Lotus sage felt a lingering fear. If he had not crushed the Buddhist prayer beads at the last moment, he would have died. A holy venerate? Be it obtaining a Dao tool or suppressing the Divine Firmament sect disciples, he had raised the Purple Flame sect's luck. "You truly live up to being Martial Uncle Ye's junior brother. The sect is truly fortunate to have you." After about 7 minutes, the group arrived at the summit, where the 7-colored clouds shrouded the summit. After saying goodbye to his senior brother, and returning to his courtyard, Xiaochen still could not calm down. Such a situation had rarely happened in the history of the Purple Flame sect. Xiaochen felt embarrassed in his heart. How could he still have the face to make any requests? Yi Zifeng had simply helped him too much. Yi Zifeng said softly, "Find more experts of the same generation to exchange pointers with. You need to find experts of the same generation who are truly evenly matched in terms of saber techniques. You still have to rely on yourself to comprehend these things." After activating the Immortal Seal, it might really be possible for Xiaochen to fall in the Fiendish Demon battlefield. The Tyrant Saber was one of the biggest gains in the Fiendish Demon battlefield. Yi Zifeng narrowed his eyes as he looked at the saber in Xiaochen's hand. "Your saber." With the two combined, Xiaochen felt that he could bring out 20% of the Tyrant Saber's strength. Breaking through to sovereign personage in this grave sea is practically impossible. Only by entering the central great realm will there be a chance. Yi Zifeng nodded. "That's right. I was injured by the Black Lotus sect venerate, but I never felt depressed. This is because I know that fortune and disaster are hard to determine. This is not a bad thing for me. When you entered the Fiendish Demon battlefield, an old friend came to visit and brought you an item. Not only did you recover from your injuries, but your strength also improved. Many thanks, senior brother." However, junior brother had some fortuitous encounters in the Fiendish Demon battlefield. The Black Lotus mark in my body was also completely removed, so I do not have any other requests for now. Yi Zifeng held the Tyrant Saber and felt it. Then he nodded slightly. "Good saber. It is a superior grade Dao tool. Although it contains only one kind of Thunder Dao, it is very compatible with the word Tyrant. The two are naturally compatible. The Thunder Dao walks the path of tyranny, ferocity, and decisiveness. It is simple, direct, and efficient. However, don't stray from the right path. Otherwise, you will end up like that Divine Firmament sect's saber fanatic." Yi Zifeng's cultivation had also dropped from peak major primal core realm to peak minor primal core realm. Xiaochen said sincerely, "Congratulations, senior brother." Finally, there was the Earth and Fire Golden Lotus. After he absorbed the Earth and Fire Golden Lotus, He would comprehend the final move of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques saber manual, entering hell. However, Xiaochen did not know why he wanted to enter an abandoned land. After a while, black lotus petals appeared on the surface of the sea. Then, they merged and formed a complete black lotus. Xiaochen had not even brought out 10% of this saber's might. There was still a lot of potential that he could dig out. The Thunder Dao contained in the saber manual was also useful for reference. Xiaochen, you really startled me. I will definitely obtain the demonic bone relic. The grudge between us will not end so easily. It is not over yet. Xiaochen seemed to have comprehended something. He had long felt that his saber techniques had reached a bottleneck. However, he did not know where it was. After familiarizing himself with the Tyrant Saber for half a month, Xiaochen could finally bring out 20% of the Tyrant Saber's might. The might of the army-breaking saber technique reached unprecedented heights. The Divine Firmament Sect's saber fanatic was the Thunder Saber Xiang Tian, Shangguanlei's master. Xiaochen wondered what the connection was between the Central Great Realms Tianwu Dynasty and the Kunlun Realms Tianwu Dynasty. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.